Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 1. Black Clover, Runaway Asta. Author, Asta. Konoha's Blue Beast. I want to prove that even if you don't know ninjutsu or illusion, you can become an excellent ninja. This is the whole of my life. This is my way of ninja. The Roaring Emperor of Clover Asterisk. I want to prove to everyone that no matter whether you are a poor ghost or an outcast, you can achieve great things. How fan, if there is any relationship between these two other than being equally inspirational, it is that the buddy was unlucky and urged him to transmigrate first and become Rock Lee. Because of his physical defect, he couldn't control Zack to perform ninjutsu, and then protested to the system. Afterwards, he transmigrated into Asta, who couldn't use magic. Chapter 1. A Roar of Youth in the Skull. What? Sure enough, this burning youth can't escape the curse of 10,001 Finger Zen. How Fan was tearfully digesting the memory of the four-leaf clover Roaring Emperor Asta, how familiar this miserable setting is. Also abandoned by the mainstream forces, Rock Lee can't perform ninjutsu, but at least he can save chakra. This kid just wants a magic insulator. At least from the current memory, this is the case. They have lived to the age of 15 and still can't use magic. They can only pin their hopes on the annual, Magic Guide book, awarding ceremony, and it seems that the time will soon be up. Before that, Asta could only train his body like a devil every day and drink a bottle of leaf miner juice after each workout to comfort himself. He is really a pitiful and helpless boy. I have had enough ridicule in the past 10 years, and even the outcast kid from the church doesn't respect him. How Fan sat on the soft soil, propped his hands on the ground and looked at the sky lazily. Since it's so pitiful, let me be the one to roar today, bah, Asta. Then let's do 501 finger meditations today. After How Fan finished speaking, he supported his body with his thumbs. From this powerful body, it can be seen that Asta has never been lazy in these years, so let him break through the limit of this body again. 1. 2. How Fan resisted the pain from his thumb. As Asta had never exercised the strength of his fingers, there was a risk of breaking his finger if he did one finger meditation all of a sudden. Because of this, How Fan didn't go crazy and directly did 10,001 finger exercises. Zen. 499. 500. It took How Fan about 2 hours to complete 501 finger exercises, and when he stopped, the entire thumb of his right hand turned purple-blue due to the sudden force and prolonged blood flow. The index finger, middle finger, ring finger, and little finger also come. How Fan continued to point the ground with his index finger, but he only needed to do 401 finger exercises with his index finger, 300 with his middle finger, 200 with his ring finger, and 100 with his little finger. In this training, How Fan practiced directly from morning to evening, and only then did he complete the 10-finger one-finger meditation task. This body is still too weak. It's a waste of a day just to train the strength of the fingertips. How Fan regretted that when he was still Rock Lee, under the leadership of Kai Huang, he would tearfully run upside down, climb mountains with bare hands, hit tree stumps, practice martial arts and a series of youth-burning sports every day. It's a bit rough, but fortunately, he has learned all the skills that Rock Lee should have. Except for opening the 8 doors, which needs to be done step by step, everything else is no problem. But, this thing really hurts. How Fan threw 10 sausage-like fingers. It would be great if there was chakra to guide him at this time. Although Rock Lee has obstacles in casting spells, at least he can use chakra to nourish his body. By the way, can this world save chakra? If so, this unlucky Asta won't even block ninjutsu. How Fan's eyes lit up, and he immediately closed his eyes and began to accumulate chakra. When he was concentrating on meditation, there seemed to be a little white energy body in his dantian. How Fan opened his eyes suddenly. This is chakra. This world can really accumulate chakra. So that means I can perform ninjutsu. How Fan thought of all the awesome ninja techniques in the Naruto world, and couldn't help but want to cry out. Sure enough, it's a good thing to travel twice more. Ding dong. Detect the appearance of a second-dimensional energy body in the host body. Now open the Naruto Mall, and the host can exchange points for various Naruto props. Damn. There is such a good thing. Then why didn't you show up last time? Hao Fan said angrily. Because you didn't have a second-dimensional energy body at that time. Okay, I'll give you full marks for this explanation. Hao Fan remembered that the name of the system was, Wanjia Doubting System. Well, this is really worthy of the name. Transfer the ability of this world to another world, in a word, System Boss, RBQ. Open them all. Hao Fan spoke excitedly, and then a series of Hokage props appeared in front of his eyes. Pupil Technique, Single Goyu Sharingan, 10,000 points. D-Level Ninjutsu, Shadow Shuriken, 50 points, Binding, 50 points, Clone, 50 points, Transformation, 50 points. Props, Bingliang Pills, 10 pieces for 1 point, Kunai, 10 pieces for 1 point, Healing Potion, 1 bottle for 1 point. Long live the System Boss, I want to write Sharing Eyes. Hao Fan grinned excitedly, even Shan Goyu's Sharingan is enough for him to roam around in this magical world. Chapter 2 Healing Potions for External Application and Internal Use. Shan Goyu writes Sharing Eyes. Normal function, slow down the enemy's attack speed, and improve insight. Special effect, 30% chance to cast illusion, 30% chance to copy opponent's magic. Hao Fan clicked on it and looked at the effects of Sharingan in this world. Although only 30% of the effects of casting illusion and copying magic, it is still very fun. The most important thing is that he can finally use ninjutsu in this world. Coupled with the fact that he inherited Kaihuang's physical skills, he can hang and beat whoever he wants as soon as he opens the 8 doors. The next step is to brush monsters and score points. The only alchemist in this system who can earn points is the big monster to earn points, which is a very common way to upgrade. Hao Fan left the skull cave and walked towards the church at the bottom of the mountain with a tired body. Today is really a fruitful day. Hao Fan shook his sore arm. If he can exchange for a bottle of healing potion at this time, all right. You must know that physical training is not the same as practicing chakra or meditating on magic power, as long as you work hard. This physical training is the same as maintaining equipment. If you just wear it and don't know how to maintain it, you will soon use up your body. There was still chakra accumulation before, but now he has just accumulated a little chakra, and this chakra will dissipate in his limbs before it can be transported to his hands. Chatter dash. A mountain wolf that was hungry for 3, bent down and stared at Hao Fan who was walking down the mountain. When Hao Fan showed his defenseless back, the mountain wolf rushed out, dripping with saliva. The teeth can smell the smell from a long distance. Youth is indeed a whirlwind of leaves. With an incredible twist at Hao Fan's waist, his body turned 360 in an instant, and his toes kicked the mountain wolf's teeth fiercely. Whoa! The mountain wolf wailed, its canine teeth flew around, and its whole body was blown away by the huge force from its face. Boom! The mountain wolf hit its head on a tree trunk, shattered its skull and died. What a poor little wolf. When Hao Fan passed by, he had already seen this mountain wolf who seemed to be squeezed out by his companions because of his weakness, but it seemed that killing an old, weak, sick mountain wolf would not get any points, so he was too lazy to do it, but this mountain wolf, it's no wonder that the wolf has no eyesight and rushes to die. System prompt, the host kills an ordinary mountain wolf and gets 1 point. Oh, it's not bad. Hao Fan immediately exchanged this 1 point for a bottle of healing potion. It can be used internally and externally to treat common headaches, colds, and bruises. Hao Fan looked carefully at the description. It is considered a low-damage all-purpose potion, and if you use some in the bath, it will also have the effect of nourishing the body. It looks pretty good. Gudong gudong. Hao Fan first drank half a bottle of healing potion, which tasted a bit sweet. When the potion passed through his stomach and flowed into his limbs, Hao Fan obviously felt that the injury on his finger healed a lot, and the color changed from a terrible sausage color to blue-purple, but the wounds on the body are obviously still not healed. Try it externally. Hao Fan poured some healing potion into the palm of his left hand, and then rubbed his hands together. Hiss, I'll go, this is sour. Unexpectedly, after drinking a healing potion with a good taste, after pouring it into his hands, his eyes would be as hot as if his nostrils were poured with pepper water. Most people would cry for their father and mother if they endured such severe pain, but after all, How Fan has experienced Kai, the man trained by the Emperor, is so capable of handling pain. Mom, it hurts me to death. How Fan covered his hands and rolled all over the floor. Anyway, there is no one around now, so who is he pretending to watch? However, although it hurts, the effect is wonderful. Soon How Fan found that the bruises on the 10 fingers were obviously much better, and the color had gradually changed from purple to blue. Almost 10 fingers can be used flexibly again, but they still look a little bruised. Very good. Seeing the efficacy of the healing potion, How Fan nodded in satisfaction. Now he can burn his youth without any scruples. Although Asta is not lazy, he practiced very hard, like the common exercise methods, push-ups, sit-ups, and so on can easily reach the level of thousands, but because he has no chakra accumulation, the training intensity is still within the human range. So now Asta's physical fitness is not enough to open 8 doors, and even some difficult physical movements are not up to the requirements, but the current strength should be able to instantly kill some little ghosts who just got the magic book. Chapter 3 Little Ghost, Speak with Respect to Elders. There will be training in the future. How Fan casually threw the mountain wolf into the depths of the jungle, so as not to frighten the little flowers passing by. As the sun went down, the villagers working in the fields also packed up their equipment and prepared to go home. It's so rare to be quiet today, a villager said with emotion. Yeah, I haven't seen that naughty kid all day. Another villager couldn't help laughing, maybe it was hit by Nun Lily's refusal that day. I really don't know what this kid is thinking. Let alone a clergyman, Nun Lily, even if she wants to marry, she won't marry a kid who can't even use magic. Yeah, this kid can use even a little magic, and his future life will be worrying. You said they were also foundlings picked up from outside, why is there such a big gap between Asta and Yuno? The villagers who came out of the field chatted in 2s and 3s, but when they saw How Fan coming down from the mountain far away, their gossiping voices became quieter. Asta, why did you come back covered in mud, and disappeared for a whole day today? What did you eat for lunch? Sister Lily gently patted the dirt on How Fan's body with a feather duster, her eyes were full of worry. Goo. After Sister Lily finished speaking, How Fan's stomach started to growl. He couldn't do high-intensity training for a day, which made him already hungry. Pfft. Let's eat. Seeing How Fan's embarrassment, Sister Lily couldn't help laughing. I'll go to the kitchen to get you food. Asta is back, you were lazy again today. The door of the church opened, and out came a little ghost wearing a khaki vest and a pair of eyes that seemed to never be opened. Little devil, shouldn't you use honorifics for elders? How Fan looked at the little ghost who was in the same way as Nara Shikamaru and couldn't help complaining. Asta had this guy in his memory. His nature was not bad, but his personality was similar to Nara Shikamaru's thief, but what to call him for a while? I really can't remember it, maybe it will be fine after a few days when the memory is completely integrated. Magic is everything in this world, and you are doing stupid things every day and not doing your job properly. Sometimes I wonder if you are really as old as Brother Yuno. The little ghost preached with a vicious tongue, but his eyes couldn't help but widen a little in the next second, because How Fan, who was 5 meters away a moment ago, came to him in a daze. At this time, How Fan squatted on the ground and patted the little ghost on the shoulder. Little ghost, there is not only magic in this world, no matter how strong or weak the elders are, we still have to respect them, because this is the most basic courtesy. What? How Fan Yu patted the startled kid on the shoulder earnestly, then stood up and walked into the church. Is he really Asta? The serious eyes just now, and the speed that people can't even react, how is this possible? The little ghost stood on the spot blankly. Asta shocked him too much at this moment, such Asta really has a convincing temperament like Yuno. How Fan walked to the kitchen, where Sister Lily was carefully heating the food. Is it too late to wait? I caught a fish today, and I specially gave you some. Sister Lily smiled softly. Sister Lily. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 2. How Fan's eyes were shining like gold, but this little amount of fish can only be regarded as a good deal, and this little amount of protein can't support his daily super-intensive training. It seems that he has to find a way to improve his food in the future. This Asta who is 15 years old and still grows so low has a lot to do with malnutrition. His current food intake is at least 3 caddies of beef and mutton or 10 large carp for each meal. It seems that there is still a long way to go in the future, and the food problem will be settled tomorrow. After eating, Hao Fan lay back on the bed. It looked like he was sleeping. In fact, Hao Fan was cultivating the chakra in his body. At present, magic is not expected, but there must be a skill close to him when he comes here, otherwise this is a border village. Although it looks peaceful now, no one knows what emergencies will happen, so it's better to be careful. Buddhism on the road. The new driver followed suit and started on the road, not daring to overtake or anything. This is honestly updated every day. If the response is good, please continue to update. Adding more is in accordance with the usual practice. 2,000 flowers a change. 1,000 reviews and 1 update. 5 people tipped a reward. 20 monthly tickets are changed. Can you add a few updates today? Panicked. Chapter 4 Improve your life first. The next day, before dawn, Hao Fan habitually threw off the warm blanket. Now it's the time when it's warm and cold. Ordinary children don't just lift the blanket as soon as they open their eyes. Even if they wake up early, he didn't want to leave the warm bed, but Hao Fan had already developed the habit of getting up as soon as he opened his eyes under Kaihuang's love. Today's task is huge. Hao Fan was sorting out his thoughts while he was getting dressed. The reason why he lay on the bed and slept as soon as he came back yesterday was that besides being really tired, there was another important reason, that was the huge church, where several people lived, and there are only 2 bathtubs, and the bathing place is also very simple. Generally, when girls wash, they and men avoid it, and then when they wash, girls do the same. Usually their bathing time is every Wednesday, so even if Hao Fan wants to take a bath with the healing potion, he doesn't have this condition. As a result, the plan to renovate the church was put on the agenda. After all, it was originally one of Asta's wishes to make everyone's lives happier. But this kid is too sincere, he just thinks about becoming the magic emperor in one step, and never thinks about using his superior physical fitness to help everyone. But today's purpose is very simple: first go to the river beside the village to catch more than a dozen fish to fill his stomach, and then go to the forest to cut wood. He decided to build a separate bathhouse for men and women today. Well, just do it. After Hao Fan put on his clothes, Yunhua opened his eyes once. His dark eyes were full of surprise, but then he closed them as if he hadn't seen them. What a little man, a bit like Sasuke. Hao Fan pouted, took out an axe, a piece of flint, and a bundle of rope from the warehouse, and then left the church and headed straight for the river outside the village. Morning Asta, let's have fun again. A villager who got up early to cook greeted Hao Fan. Your grandma, think I'm a husky and still have fun. Be careful, I'll give you 100 house demolition plans. Hao Fan rolled his eyes, and after saying that it's not worth it, he turned and left in a haughty manner. What do you mean? The villagers were stunned. This guy has learned a lot. Call. Hao Fan breathed out a breath of foul air, and ran upside down for about 3 kilometers from the entrance of the village to the creek. The real practice is to race against time. After all, there is never a shortage of hard-working people in the world. If you are on the same starting line or even behind others, if you want to surpass others, you must use 300% of your hard work and wisdom. Hao Fan was sitting by the creek, his arms were sore and swollen at this time. The practice he did was something Asta had never practiced before, so it was considered a new field. Gudong. Hao Fan opened the healing potion and took a sip. His body immediately felt warm. The healing potion is like milk. It not only heals wounds but also provides nutrition. Hao Fan shakes the bottle and there is probably a nail left in it. Hao Fan poured the bottle of healing potion the size of a lid into the stream, shook the bottle, and sprinkled the mixture of cold stream water and healing potion on his arms. Hiss, sour. Hao Fan gritted his teeth, although the pain was a little bit, but the effect was great, and soon his sore and swollen arm got better. This healing potion is a good thing. With it, I don't have the accumulation of chakra, and I can exercise twice as much as usual. Hao Fan nodded in satisfaction, and then started to make fishing tools. He first found a rhombus-shaped stone by the stream, and after sharpening the stone, he used the rope he took out from the church to wrap the stone in the shape of a diamond. The rocks that seemed to be nothing were tied up. Perfect. After making the fishing tools, Hao Fan came to the stream. At this time, the stream was full of fat and strong carp raised after a winter. Although these carp were fat, their speed was still the same as before. So people in Haji village seldom go fishing in this kind of weather, because they might catch a cold from touching cold water, which is not worth the candle. Go. After Hao Fan aimed at a fat carp, he turned his back to the stream and flicked it casually. With a plop, the sharp stone pierced through the fat carp that Hao Fan had just set his sights on. Shwa! Hao Fan waved his hand, and saw the carp breaking out of the water, and the water brought by the fish body reflected a gorgeous rainbow in the morning sun. Well, the skill of throwing kunai has not regressed. Hao Fan squinted his eyes. The fish he was catching now was for himself, so his technique was simple and rough, focusing on speed. In a short time, he caught 10 big carp. Hao Fan took the carp to the nearest forest by the river, picked up a pile of firewood along the way, and lit it with flint. After a while, the smell of fish wafted from the forest. I don't know if I can attract a few beasts. Hao Fan is thinking about the 1 point he got from killing an old and weak mountain wolf yesterday. He has now decided to improve the living conditions in the church first, which can be regarded as creating a comfortable training environment for himself. Eat less, drink less tomorrow, how can you train? So now he doesn't have time to go to the deep forest to hunt monsters to get points. Dear readers, I want a little monthly pass. Seeing that the monthly pass is empty, I still feel bad. Chapter 5 The Prototype of the Luxurious Bathhouse. Belch. After Hao Fan had eaten his fill, he picked his teeth and his expression was very gloomy. He was wondering who leaked the news yesterday evening. Isn't it just killing the mountain wolf? Why did the lost jackals, tigers and leopards come over after half a day of grilling fish in the woods? Is this still a border village? It's too peaceful. Do not care. After Hao Fan was full, he started logging. Although he didn't know anything about architecture, he had a lot of strength. This guy could pile it up like a bathhouse just by relying on brute force. Hey! Hey! Cutting down trees is also a form of practice. Hao Fan seems to be possessed by Kai Huang, youth is to burn forever. Boom! In 5 seconds, a tree trunk as thick as an adult's thigh successfully fell to the ground. The next step is finishing. Hao Fan quickly skinned and cramped, and soon the tree turned into fresh wood. Well, for a tree like this, 17 or 8 more need to be cut down, so that a huge bathhouse can be built. Hao Fan thought about the big and small Luoli in the church, and the nun Lily each had their own merits, which made him feel like a hidden beauty in a golden house, so this bathhouse must be grand. Around noon, Hao Fan carried a pile of wood that looked like a hill, and walked towards the village step by step. Carrying wood is also a kind of practice. Hao Fan gritted his gums. Although Asta's body has a high explosive height, his stamina is still lacking, so it is already very difficult to carry wood that is 50 times more than his own. Now is not the time to give up. Hao Fan's back is almost level with the ground, and if he walks on soft soil, he will even leave deep footprints. Look, what kind of monster is that? My God, the whole body is covered with wood. It's a wood monster. No, that seems to be Asta, the naughty ghost in the church. Hey, how heavy is this? The villagers who were about to go to the field and go home to eat were dumbfounded. No one could have imagined that a child who was only 15 years old could resist so much wood. Let it go, let it go. Hao Fan carried dozens of logs to the open space outside the church, immediately braked the horse, and then a pile of logs landed perfectly. It's not bad. If you work harder in the afternoon, you should be able to build a bathhouse. Hao Fan wiped the sweat from his forehead. Ah! Asta, did you move these here? A little Luoli wearing a blue and white shirt looked at Asta in surprise. This was even more shocking than Nuj casting magic to dry clothes or chop dry wood. Because in this world, it is not uncommon to use magic, but people who have exercised their bodies like this are really rare. Yeah, I'll build a bathhouse for you later, so that you can take a bath in the winter, and I will build an exclusive bathtub for each person according to their head. How Fan leaned in front of little Luoli and raised his eyebrows to preach. Ah! Asta is handsome and rascal. Little Loli ran back to the church covering her face in embarrassment, leaving Asta alone in the wind. He seemed to be honest and didn't say anything nasty. Asta, what are you doing, boy? Like a steam train, the godfather slammed the door open, and then he was stunned when he saw the pile of wood that looked like a hill. Asta, did you rob a load of wood? Excellence! How Fan pursed his lips. He wanted to rob money. He robbed a pile of wood and dried chicken feathers. Yeah, have you learned to sneer? The godfather widened his eyes, and activated the priest's taunting skills. Look at the rising star of our church, who knows how to help the church with chores since he was a child, and look at you who have nothing to do all day long, and you know how to play in the mud in the mountains. I plan to build a luxurious bathhouse for our church. How Fan held his nose and preached. What the hell? The godfather froze for a moment. How Fan strangled his mocking skills in the middle. I have had a great dream since I was a child, that is to strive for every doll in the church to have its own exclusive wooden bathtub, and when you want to take a bath, you don't have to avoid suspicion or pick a day or something, and you can take a bath even in the winter. How Fan preached calmly. Ha ha ha, don't tease me. If you can build a house, then you will be the star of our church. The godfather laughed while clutching his stomach. TCH, I still don't believe it, but don't think it hurts. How Fan rolled his eyes, turned around and walked outside again. What are you doing? It's time to eat now. The godfather stopped How Fan. Of course it is to improve the food for everyone. How Fan rolled his eyes and ran towards the creek quickly. This time, he didn't run upside down, but ran forward at the fastest speed. Now his body exploded at full speed, and he ran 3 kilometers away in only 5 minutes. This is already twice the speed of ordinary people. Go! Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 3. How Fan repeated the same trick, but this time it was not so violent. Instead, he hit a carp with stones while controlling the strength. After about a dozen carps were tied up, How Fan found a long and resilient carp. Branches, use ropes to wrap these fish around the branches and run back on their backs. As soon as How Fan walked to the door of the church, the little ghost who happened to be similar to Nara Shikamaru held the bowl and chopsticks and opened the door. As soon as the little ghost saw How Fan, he immediately turned on the poisonous tongue mode. Asta, today everyone is waiting for you alone. Brother Yunua used magic to catch a fish to improve everyone's life when it was almost noon, when you can catch a fish like Brother Yunua again. Oh. That boy Yuno is on the right track. How Fan raised his eyebrows, and then asked the kid to make way. It's fish. After How Fan walked in, the little ghost saw a big carp tied to a branch, which seemed to be bigger than the one caught by Brother Noah. But the kid pouted quickly. You know Brother Noah caught 2 of them including yesterday's. But as How Fan continued to go deeper, the kid stared straight away, and the fish on the branches were like gourds on the vines, one after another. Article 2. Article 3. Article 7. Article 15. The kid opened his mouth. Is all this true? Asta, who is the naughty ghost king and the roaring emperor, unexpectedly caught 15 carp back. It seems that I caught a lot of carp. After How Fan raised the corners of his mouth and finished speaking, he left the little ghost with a handsome back. He gave himself full marks for this little pretender. Good night, this is the last update for today. Chapter 6. Lousy, who have you ever been afraid of? Father, Asta seems to have become a little different these 2 days. Sister Lily quietly preached to the godfather. The godfather rubbed his chin, pondered for a while, and said, yeah, this kid is getting more and more bragging, and he actually told me just now that he wants to build a luxurious bathhouse for you, and he also strives for each doll to have an exclusive bathroom. The bathtub is really prudish. What? Sister Lily opened her mouth wide. When did Asta get serious? In other words, she was really looking forward to this luxurious bathhouse. Sister Lily couldn't help but blushed when she thought that she would be able to take a hot bath every day in the future. After lunch, How Fan chose an open space next to the church, and then began to chisel tenons and tenons on the processed wood blocks with tools such as axes, such as convex square tenons, round tenons, double tenons, and dovetails. Tenon and tongue and groove, etc., so that an all-wooden bathroom can be built like building blocks. Give up, Asta, you have never built a house, how could you build a bathhouse? Nashio ran out and complained. It's you kid again, I didn't say you, how do you know it's impossible before you do it? Hao Fan rolled his eyes, this brat is really full of negative energy, if he can be taught by Emperor Kai for a few days, Custodian will be another good boy who burns his youth. Asta worked so hard to prove that even poor ghosts and outcasts can realize their dreams as long as they work hard. Isn't it just to infect children like Nashio who feel sorry for themselves? What if I say I can build this house before dawn tomorrow? Hao Fan looked into Nashio's eyes and preached. Under Hao Fan's steadfast gaze, Nashio couldn't help but feel ashamed, but he still said stubbornly, if you can really build the bathhouse tomorrow, then I will respect you just like brother you know. But if you haven't finished it, don't dream of the spring and autumn dream every day, since you are an outcast and a poor ghost, you must have the awareness of an outcast and a poor ghost and don't be wishful thinking about becoming a magic emperor. Then it's a deal. Under the sun, Hao Fan smiled confidently. Although he only studied the construction of houses with mortise and tenon structures out of interest and never practiced them, he turned the impossible into possible. Isn't this youth? Whether it's Rock Lee of Konoha, Mike K., or Mike K.'s father, or Asta of Clover, which one of them is not a person who was abandoned by the mainstream cultivation system in the world? But which one of them has ever succumbed to this damned fate of nowhere to rest? In other words, who have I been afraid of? After Hao Fan established the oath with Nashio, he began to concentrate on making mortise and tenon joints. Not only that, he also meticulously drew the blueprints used to build the house on the ground, either not doing it, or doing the best. It is his creed in life. After preliminary calculations, more than 3,500 mortise and tenon joints of different structures are needed to build the house this time, but this is not difficult for Hao Fan. The advantages of Asta's continuous training in the past few years have finally been revealed. The devil is like carrying a huge wood and constantly trimming and trimming. Finally, with limited wood, more than 1,000 kinds of mortise and tenon joints are used for beams or walls. These are not enough, we still need to cut wood, and we need 4 huge tree stumps as the foundation. Hao Fan immediately rushed to the forest to choose suitable wood. The good thing is that there is no shortage of towering trees in the forest, so he has sufficient building materials. Looking at Asta's appearance, it doesn't sound like a joke. Can he really build a bathhouse in one day? The nuns and others looked at the serious and busy Hao Fan in surprise. Although they didn't know what Hao Fan had been chiseling on the wood block, they looked very powerful. He was serious. Yunuo looked at Hao Fan seriously. As his lifelong rival, he never doubted Asta's seriousness, but why couldn't he use magic until now? Yuno clenched his fists and said to Asta secretly, you have to grow up faster, if you don't grow up, you will be left far behind by me, such an effortless victory is really annoying. In the evening, the nun called Hao Fan to eat. Eat first, leave me alone. Hao Fan stared at the remaining 30 pieces of wood. He had to finish all the mortise and tenon joints before it was completely dark, otherwise such delicate work would be very difficult to complete at night, so he would lose to a well-depressed brat. But, how can I do without dinner? Thanks to you, I cooked 3 fish tonight. The nun wanted further persuasion, but was stopped by the godfather. Let him go, otherwise he won't give up. The godfather sighed. It can be said that Asta was watched by him growing up. He knows Asta's temper best. It is really difficult to be pulled back if one thing is recognized, such as becoming a magic emperor and marry Sister Lily. Look at this new book that doesn't even have 1,000 flowers. The author is about to burn his youth. Please support me. If I can get 1,000 flowers today, I will stay up late at 5 o'clock. Chapter 7 Burn Your Youth with Me. Bang bang bang. At night, Hao Fan lit a big fire, which illuminated the open space outside the church very brightly, and then began to build the bathhouse according to the planned sequence. This night Nashio was destined to be a sleepless night, because although he didn't say anything, Asta's never-say-die attitude still infected him subtly. Sometimes he really envied Asta. People who don't know how to use it have experienced ridicule and irony from so many people since they were young, but they can still live so optimistically every day, and never give up their dreams for a moment. Dream. Is this really something far away and something you dare not expect? Nashio was crying. Can these outcasts really have dreams? When he thought of the pity and sarcasm expressions of the nobles in the city or children from wealthy families looking at them, he didn't dare to think about these two words, and he only dared to become numb to himself, as if he didn't understand everything. The heart looks like he carefully protects himself in the eggshell, but he is really not reconciled. The next day, dawn. Hao Fan's skinny but muscular upper body was naked, half lying on the ground lazily, with an unknown grass dangling from the corner of his mouth, and a kind of hot sweat called youth flowed from his forehead and back from time to time. Up. I saw a building with a height of 5 meters and an area of 100 square meters appeared in front of me. He has already divided the inside into male and female parts. The middle partition is made of the thickest wood with a thickness of 3 meters, and each person's exclusive bathtub is placed inside. From today, he can finally use the healing potion for external application. The effect is to strengthen the body. Hao Fan rubbed his empty stomach. There was a lot of work done this night. Today he felt that he could eat 20 pieces of grilled fish. Hao Fan quickly came to the river, and this time he set up a fire by the river, grilled fish while fishing, and after eating, people in the village got up one after another, while Hao Fan ran upside down with his hands mosque. This kid from the church is really alive. Yeah, this is much more energetic than my child. The villagers lamented that most of them are very simple, and they still have kindness towards these outcasts in the church, and they have also helped the church in recent years. At this time, the godfather and the others were all shocked when they walked out the door and looked at the tall bathhouse. God, my face hurts. The godfather stretched his neck and stared. Did that kid really build it? This probably can't be paper. The godfather rushed to the door. The door is a typical moving door. When the bathroom door was opened, looking at the bathtub inside, he couldn't help crying. This Asta finally made a comeback. Oh my God. Sister Nun, Asta really built a bathhouse for us. There are little stars in Lyca's eyes. Girls are the least resistant to taking a bath. Now she can smell delicious every day, and she also has her own exclusive bathtub, no need to share it with others anymore. He's really done, he's really done. Nashio stood there dumbfounded, a task he thought was absolutely impossible to complete, and Asta, who couldn't use magic, actually completed it. At this moment, he was trembling all over, only feeling that something was disintegrating bit by bit. Nashio, the real embarrassment is not that others ridicule you when you realize your dream, but that you don't even have the courage to face your own dream. When Hao Fan passed by Nashio with his tired body, he stopped to preach. Nashio gritted his teeth, clenched his fists tightly, raised his head for a long time and said fiercely, "What nonsense are you talking about? Is there a time when you are more embarrassing than others laughing at you for not being self-sufficient? Could it be that you, Asta, don't you feel ashamed when others laugh at you for wanting to be the magic emperor? You know you can't even use magic. So what?" Hao Fan leaned in front of Nashio. "If you are a real man, would you care about these ridicules? I can lose to others in magic, in height, and in life, but only in terms of hard work. I will never lose to anyone. Have you ever tasted the juice of the submerged leaf? The unpalatable taste is like the juice of bitter melon, but even if I pay the price of my life, I will keep my life be a manly proof instead of hiding your dreams behind a numb shell like a coward. Nashio, remember, people who don't believe in themselves are worthless even if they work hard. If you don't even have this bit of self-confidence, how can you resist fate?" Hao Fan left behind a very tall figure in Nashio's eyes and walked forward, and his words not only shocked Nashio, but also shocked Yunua, who also stayed in the same place. It's this kind of feeling that makes people passionate and full of endless fighting spirit. Asta can always bring hope to people. Yuno clenched his fists tightly. This is what his only opponent for life should look like. Hao Fan's words baptized Nashio like enlightenment. His eyes gradually became dull, and then slowly became firm again. "Brother Asta, please let me practice with you." Nashio bent down suddenly, his tears came out dazzlingly. He also wanted to burn his youth like Asta. He didn't want to live under the protective shell anymore. "Very good, come find me in the skull cave after breakfast, burn your youth with me. How Fan raised the corners of his mouth. He was able to make the same modifications as Nara Shikamaru into burning youth like Shaoli all day long. This is quite a sense of accomplishment. Dear readers and friends, burn your youth with us. Chapter 8 Nashio asks what is youth? That's right, it's the scent of wood. The Godfather bit on the door frame, the taste is definitely real wood. This can't be magic, can it? Sister Lily walked into the bathhouse and couldn't help sighing. She knocked on the wooden bathtub for a while, poked the wall for a while to see if it was strong, and finally found that this is really a huge and thick bathhouse. To be honest, she has never seen such a magnificent bathhouse in her life. Godfather, what did you say yesterday? How Fan walked up to the Godfather and asked with his ear. Cough. Asta, I solemnly announce that from today onwards, you will also become the rising star of our church. The old Godfather blushed and coughed dryly. Asta, can you build a compartment for our church? Laika excitedly ran to How Fan to preach. After all, they were crowded together in the same room, and it was inconvenient to take off their clothes at night. In extreme weather, I dare not sleep cleanly. Of course, but the structure of our church is not the same as that of a bathhouse. It will probably take a while. How Fan squinted his eyes and smiled sincerely. He felt that it would be good for everyone to sleep together, so he didn't plan to build a cubicle. It's bad, a wild boar has come to the village. The sound of panic from the villagers came from the field. I saw a 3-meter-high wild boar running rampant in the village like a khaki tank. The villagers used magic attacks in a panic, but at best they were small water polo. Small fireballs and other magic that are usually used in life. This level of attack not only did not play the role of driving away, but instead irritated the wild boar in its prime. Hey, hey, hey. The wild boar's pupils gradually shrank with anger, and after locking onto a child hugging under a big tree, it lowered its head and slammed into it swiftly. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 4. Help! The children let out horrific screams. Who will save my child? A woman cried and passed out on the ground. Many adults had the same reaction as her, because they really lacked the ability to resist in front of such a huge boar. No, Lily quickly take Yuno and the others to hide in the church. It was too late for the Godfather to say it, and it was fast at that time, and he was about to rush out on his broomstick, but at this moment, a figure faster than him had already rushed out. Asta. The Godfather's eyes turned red in an instant, and he even forgot to ride the broom for a while. He wanted to catch How Fan instinctively, but How Fan ran like a blue beast and rushed towards the wild boar. This is meat. How Fan burst into tears with excitement. These days he was either sweet potato or grilled fish, his mouth was almost fading out. Today he can finally improve the food. Asta, come back. Yunoa screamed in shock, when he saw How Fan rushing out without hesitation. He unconsciously remembered that cold snowy night back then. That figure who was as thin as him, but rushed towards the gangster again and again because of the pendant around his neck. Yunoa, what are you doing? Nun Lily reached out and grabbed Yuno, but Yuno had already rushed out without looking back. The relationship between Asta and brother Yuno is really as good as the nun's sister said. Nashio looked dazedly at the figure that Yuno chased out without hesitation. Obviously they were equally vulnerable in front of this wild boar, but Asta rushed out anyway, and Yuno, who was always calm, also rushed out. Asta. What exactly is youth? Nashio roared hoarsely. He felt that he had been too cowardly these years. He behaved like an old man who had no desires, but in fact he also had ambitions and ambitions hidden in his heart, and he also eager to have a period of regretless and passionate youth. Youth? How Fan stopped in his tracks, glanced sideways at Na Xiao who still had tears on his cheeks, and then a green aura burst out from his whole body. Wheeze! The wild boar was charging unstoppably at first, but suddenly felt a terrifying whirlwind blowing beside it. It couldn't help but look sideways, its eyes widened instantly. Youth! That's a passionate Konoha whirlwind. How Fan soared into the sky, looking extremely dazzling under the sunlight, and then kicked the wild boar the head, and the wild boar flew into the air like a huge battering ram, and then it fell heavily to the ground again. Children. Villagers. Godfather. You know. Nashio. Wild boar. Except for Hao Fan, who was looking at the wild boar with excitement, all the people present fell into hang-up mode. Saved. The children looked at each other in bewilderment. Impossible. The villagers' eyes widened. They seemed to have seen a scene of a hero saving the world that only appeared in a drama just now, but how could the protagonist be the mischievous Asta, so they must be dazzled. Possessed by a demon god. Pooh, it should be possessed by a magic emperor. The godfather kept the posture of chasing him dumbfounded. Isn't this scene too amazing? A teenage child kicked a wild boar weighing several tons into the sky. As expected of Asta, he can always make the impossible possible. Yuno was the first to recover after a brief astonishment. He was not surprised that Asta had such pig-butchering strength, because this is the man worthy of being his lifelong enemy. But you have to grow up quickly, this world is a world of watching magic after all. Yuno looked at Hao Fan's back with concern. Maybe at the magic book awarding ceremony in March, Asta could awaken magic by obtaining the magic book. Is youth? Nashio's nostrils were still bubbling, he felt his heart beating wildly at the moment when Hao Fan jumped up like a god, he felt alive for the first time. Is this how I rushed to the street? When the wild boar was dying, he took a hard look at Hao Fan, whose saliva was already dripping out. He didn't expect that his majestic wild boar life would come to an early end. Chapter 9, The Awakening of Being a Man. Everyone, don't be stunned. Those who need to be peeled are peeled, and those who need to be cut are cut. Such a big one should be enough for the whole village to eat for a few days. Hao Fan greeted. Oh. A villager who was closest was subconsciously going back home to take a knife to cut the flesh, but just turned his head and felt that something was wrong. The point of this matter is to cut the flesh. Brother Asta is a hero. At this time, a little boy with yellow hair mustered up his courage to shout, and his voice instantly infected everyone. Yes. Asta is a hero, he saved the hope of our whole village. A villager also shouted loudly. At this time, many villagers who usually gossip about Asta became ashamed. Unexpectedly, the negative teaching materials that were cited on weekdays saved the village today. It's just a little boar, you don't have to be like this. Hao Fan waved his hand, then looked at the godfather and said, Godfather, don't forget to cut more meat for our church. After speaking, he ran up the mountain immediately before he was surrounded by water. After all, youth does not wait. Man, his golden finger is 100 times more effort than others. No problem. The godfather looks at Asta more and more pleasingly at this time. It's like the master looks at a husky who is not rambunctious. The little eyes of the three fires really look like the same thing seriously. System prompt, the host kills an ordinary wild boar and gets 5 points. There are actually 5 points. Hao Fan was overjoyed when he heard the system prompt. At the same time, he looked at the dense forest in the distance with deep eyes. It is good to kill wild boars. Not only can you eat meat, but you can also earn points. Open them all. Hao Fan opened them all and saw that the familiar Hokage props were still so expensive, so he gave up 4 bottles of healing potions and 10 kunai in exchange for them. It's been a long time, old man. Hao Fan caressed the sharp edge of Kun Wu, his eyes gradually became sharper, and he threw it obliquely forward. After Kun Wu exploded circles of white air in the air, he was finally nailed to a tree trunk, with a head about the poisonous spider the size of an adult's fist was instantly blown to pieces by the strong impact brought by kunai. It's time to speed up the cultivation. No matter how you say, you have to cultivate your body to the point where you can open the door, before March. Hao Fan came to the head of the familiar demon god, and now his path of cultivation is very clear, that is, the path of physique and the accumulation of chakra in the body. Running on the road, it will be unstoppable. As for the illusory magic, Hao Fan doesn't think about it for the time being, but he still has to drink the bitter leaf miner juice. It's impossible to say that a miracle will happen someday. In short, he will never succumb to fate. Then today's task is to perform 601 finger exercises on the thumb, 501 finger exercises on the index finger, 401 finger exercises on the middle finger, 301 finger exercises on the ring finger, and 201 finger exercises on the little finger. Hao Fan flipped over quickly, supported the ground with one thumb, and then straightened his body. Every time he bent his arm, he placed the fulcrum of his whole body on his right thumb. This time, after yesterday's adjustment, his body has gradually adapted to it. One finger and one finger zen, so it is not as painful as it was at the beginning. Click, click, click. When the sweat of youth was pouring down like rain, a cowardly and unwilling footstep came from outside the skull. When will this boy be willing to come in? If you wait any longer, you won't be able to complete today's task. Hao Fan groaned. He had already made a practical plan based on Nashio's physical condition, and the next step would be to see how strong Nashio's desire for youth was. Asta, here I come. Nashio finally plucked up the courage to walk in. He knew that the moment he stepped into this skull, his life would be changed drastically. Very good, like me, do 10 handstands first. Hao Fan spoke. What? Nashio was taken aback. How could this be done? You must know that in this era of rampant magic, everyone is neglected to exercise. I'm afraid that many mages of the magic knights can't do 10 hands on the ground. Since you want to break out of the shell, if you don't bring out some ambition and sweat, are you dreaming? Hao Fan scolded. It is good. Nashio gritted his teeth and started to try to stand on his head, but he fell to the ground after trying several times. This is simply not an action that ordinary people can accomplish. You can support your body bit by bit against the mountain wall first, and then start exercising after maintaining your balance. Remember, you only have 1 hour to complete this set of training. If you complete this challenge then you should obediently hide in the eggshell and accept your fate. Hao Fan said indifferently. I will not accept fate. When Nashio thought of Hao Fan's sentence, even if I pay the price of my life, I will leave evidence that I was born a man, his blood boiled immediately, and he also wanted to leave evidence that he was born a man. 7. 8. 9. We're short of the last one. Half an hour later, Nashio bent his arms tremblingly like a toddler. At this time, his eyes were bloodshot from standing upside down, and even a lot of salty sweat dripped into them and corroded them. His eyes hurt, but he can't give up yet. Because he also a conscious man. The author is also a very enlightened man. If the number of flowers can exceed 1500 tonight, it will be 3 times guaranteed. Chapter 10 Bring awareness and come to me. But at this moment, Nashio felt that his arm was like a spring pressed by a hammer, unable to spring up anymore. At this moment, he really wanted to give up, but in front of him was Hao Fan, and he could even clearly see that Hao Fan's thumb had gradually turned bruised due to the accumulation of blood flow. It must be very painful. Even at this moment, Asta has never given up. So what reason do I have to give up? 10th. Nashio stretched his body straight again like a branch sprouting from the frozen soil in spring. At this time, his clothes were completely soaked in sweat, and he felt that he had never been so strenuous since he was born. Very good, next is 50 sit-ups, 50 squats, and I will walk around the village 5 times with me later. This is your training volume today. Hao Fan immediately spoke, which made Nashio, who was about to relax, take a deep breath. He chose to do squats first, because he felt that his 2 arms were useless now, so sore and numb that he couldn't use them. A little strength, I hope his legs can still exert strength after squatting and rising. Hao Fan's side is like a precision mechanical part, every movement is so meticulous, like an old horse chewing night grass, so that every inch of muscle from fingers to arms has been fully exercised. At the same time, the chakra accumulated in the past 2 days also began to weakly operate in the body, which greatly dredged the blood accumulated in the arm. After a day of training, both of them were exhausted, but Hao Fan obviously had no intention of letting Nashio rest. Nashio, come on, stand up with your hands upside down, and let Grasshopper show you the different and luxurious scenery of Haji village. Hao Fan showed a smile that looked very much like Emperor Kai. That smile was full of sunshine, but Nashio shuddered all over. Are you a devil? Come again. Nashio opened his mouth wide. This is definitely not abuse. 55,555. This is what youth should look like. Hao Fan gave a thumbs up, showing his big white teeth, and then set an example and ran upside down with both hands, which made Na Xiao have to bite the bullet. When the two returned to the church exhausted, they found that the church was densely packed with adults and villains. Asta. My little ancestor, you are back. The godfather is usually the best at socializing, but the enthusiasm of the villagers today made him feel a little overwhelmed. The key is that these people are not here for him. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 5. What's wrong? Hao Fan asked curiously. If these people are grateful, they can just send more wheat and bread flour, so that everyone can eat normal staple food instead of living on sweet potatoes. Asta is like this. These children want to practice with you, and their parents also think that it is a good thing for children to exercise with you. It is better than running wildly all over the world. Lily also explained anxiously. I see. Hao Fan raised his eyebrows. I dare say that everyone is learning art from a teacher, no wonder those little ghosts look at him with so much respect at this moment. Did Asta agree? A villager happily preached, and in his opinion, physical skills are still low level after all, so Asta should have no reason to refuse the whole village's face. Yes, we have prepared a lot of children's apprenticeship ceremonies, and there are a lot of foods like rice. Another villager also piggybacked on the boastful sermon. I reject. Hao Fan said firmly, don't think he can't see the contempt these villagers have for physical skills. Even those children who want to practice physical skills mostly have arrogant expressions on their faces. A person who doesn't respect physical skills at all, how can he be qualified to practice physical skills? What? The villagers who thought there was no problem at first were shocked, because in their view, this was mutually beneficial and there was no reason to refuse it. How can we say that everyone is from the same village, so you can't be so stingy? Are you worried that the disciples of the church will starve to death of the master? Asta, don't be so short-sighted. In the future, it is impossible to say that some of these children will enter the magic nights. At that time, just remember your teaching today, and a little help will be enough for you to live a very nourishing life. Okay, everyone, don't talk about it. After all, Asta is a person who doesn't know magic. He will definitely rely on this little strength to survive in the future. If our child learns, won't this not give him a way to survive? So let's not force it gone. The villagers were chattering away with gossip, making the originally peaceful atmosphere turn sour. A young man took his chubby son's hand and said angrily, that's right, what's the use of good physical skills? The most important thing in this world is magic. Son, let's go. No, I want to learn gymnastics. The fat boy tugged at the young man's hand. He originally thought that magic was the coolest thing, but today he saw Asta jumping up from the ground like A with a miserable green light all over his body. This blood-spitting moment shook his heart for a long time. Perhaps, the charm of a man lies in this passionate punch and kick. Chapter 11 The Charm of Taishu. Asta, it's not like what you said, he must have his reasons for not teaching. Na Xiao was the first to stand up to defend the Tao. In the past, he would at most be angry about such things, but he would never stand up and express his opinions. But from the moment he decided to practice martial arts with Asta, he found himself changed. Become sharp, no longer hide yourself in a thick eggshell and feel sorry for yourself like before. Instead, dare to stand up like a man without fear. You people, I really don't know what to say. Have you forgotten who saved you? A butcher, who had closed his eyes for a long time, opened his eyes and roared, is this how you face your savior? Many villagers were ashamed by what was said, and they didn't dare to say anything more at the moment, and they were about to leave here with their children. May I ask why? Before leaving, the butcher couldn't hold back his son, so he asked embarrassingly. Because, the ones I teach are men with enlightenment. Not some people who learn physical arts because they are curious and fun, and can be used as vassals of magic. And, who allow you to insult physical arts? Let you look at it with contempt and sarcasm. After Hao Fan finished speaking word by word, his gaze became sharper, and a breathtaking aura began to seep out of his body, which belonged to a powerful warrior. This is a trembling breath. All the villagers lowered their heads under Hao Fan's gaze, their eyes gradually changed from arrogance to awe. At this moment, not only the villagers shut their mouths, even the people in the church looked at Hao Fan with admiration. Is this momentum still the Asta I know? The nun, the godfather, Laika, Nashio, and even Yuno, who had always had no doubts about Asta's ability, began to question it, because Hao Fan's current strength was stronger than that of any big man they had ever seen. Be tough. Brother Asta, I didn't look down on physical skills, I really want to learn. A little chubby said stubbornly. Me too. Another child spoke up. If you really want to learn, before the sun rises tomorrow, bring your awareness and look for me in the head of the demon in the back mountain. Hao Fan put away his momentum. The head of the demon in the back mountain has always been a nightmare existence for these children. If these children really have awareness, he doesn't mind teaching a thing or two. The next day, including Nashio, a total of 7 children arrived in the head of the demon before dawn. Naturally, Hao Fan did not hesitate to teach. He carefully observed each child's physical fitness, and then formulated a set of training guidelines for each child. From then on, everyone in the village could see Hao Fan every day. Lead a skirt of leather monkeys around the village to exercise upside down. Asta, recently I watched you cut down trees and build houses from time to time. If possible, I would like to ask you to repair a fence for our village, so that wild boars will not run into the village. One day when Hao Fan and others were training, the head of Haji village suddenly came over and said. Repair the fence? It's not impossible. Hao Fan nodded and said, Godfather and the others live in this village after all, so it is good to make the village safer, but it is obviously impossible for him to do nothing for nothing. The village head is a mature person. Seeing Hao Fan pondering, he immediately said, for this reason, the village has decided that no matter how difficult life will be in the future, it will definitely provide enough food and assistance to the church within 5 years. Make a deal. Hao Fan snapped his fingers. Repairing the fence was a piece of cake for him. Although Haji village is not small, it is not as big as imagined. With 7 leather monkeys, repairing the fence is naturally a kind of practice. Children, these trees look crooked and cracked, and they are not round at all. Get rid of them. Hao Fan pointed to a large tree path with a height of more than 10 meters. Yes. Nashio and the others were also unambiguous. Holding an axe was more dedicated than a lumberjack, and the big tree they embraced fell down in a short while. Very well, this time our task is to repair the fence, so there is no need for finishing, we only need to sharpen one end. Also, how many times have I said that cutting down trees is the same as cutting down people? If you want to make a full blow, you must first exert force from the 2 calves. When the power between the legs is uploaded to the waist, it will pass through the rotating shaft of the waist and finally be slashed out through the arms. In this way, you only then can one exert more strength than a person who only uses the strength of the waist and arms, and this is the full strength that a person can chop. While cultivating, Hao Fan also closely observed the movements of each child, and gave pointers from time to time. Although these casual experiences may sound simple and easy to understand, they are the crystallization of the wisdom of the ancients. People pointed out, these children may never understand these truths in their entire life. Nashio and the others used the method described by Hao Fan. The waist did not move first, and the legs suddenly exerted force. Driven by the leg muscles, the whole body seemed to be flying. At this time, the waist seemed to be stretched like a civet cat. A burst of tenderness naturally broke out, and when the strength of the legs and waist reached the arms, every child felt as if a beast was about to rush out of his body. The strength was unprecedentedly huge. Boom! When the axe fell into the tree trunk, the arms of Nashio and others immediately became numb, and some children even fell to the ground due to the force of the rebound. The axe cuts deeper. When you burst out with all your strength, you must know how to unload the force, so as to protect yourself from being hurt by the force you erupt. The trick to unloading the force is to loosen and sink. When you are beginners, you can put the axe into the tree trunk. Before that, let go of the axe handle, and prevent the backlash of power from the source. After you are proficient, you can hold the handle of the axe and take advantage of the rebounding force to exert force for the second time. This is called unloading force and borrowing force at the same time, so that you can continue to explode continuously. While talking, Hao Fan picked up an axe and began to teach by example. He picked a big tree that was as thick as 3 adults' arms, and the soles of his feet were firmly pressed against the ground. Then his 2 calves tensed instantly, and a huge force rose from the legs, and then he twisted his waist. Force, bringing the huge force to the shoulders, and finally passing it to the axe through the arms. Boom! The axe fell fiercely on the tree trunk, leaving nearly a fifth of the fracture. However, this time is not over yet. When the axe sank into the tree trunk, although part of the force was absorbed by the tree trunk, part of the force was rebounded to the axe. When Hao Fan noticed a huge reaction force from the axe, he immediately taking advantage of the opportunity to lift the axe. Most of the rebounded force not only did not hurt Hao Fan, but helped him pull out the axe and lift it up again. When the axe drew a semicircle in the air, Hao Fan's legs exerted strength again, driving the axe to cut into the tree again, and so on and on. The chopping became more and more vigorous, like a perpetual motion machine. Without 6 axes, a hardwood the big tree was chopped down by Hao Fan. Hiss! All the children gasped, because they obviously found that Hao Fan was chopping faster and faster. You must know that they are all the most powerful when they cut the tree for the first time, and their strength will drop a lot when they cut the tree for the second time, but Hao Fan does the opposite, and the more they cut, the more powerful they become. This is the charm of borrowing power. Hao Fan spoke. At this moment, all the children's eyes shone brightly, and they realized that physical skills are so charming. The next chapter should be the Tower of Magical Books. Today, probably, there will be 3 shifts, and maybe there will be more 5 shifts, 7 shifts, and 8 shifts, because many friends have donated flowers and the like. Yes, so please continue to support me. Chapter 12 Magic Book Tower. It took only 2 weeks for Hao Fan and others to repair the fence of Haji village. After 2 weeks, this barren village was surrounded by a 10-meter-high fence. Change. Time passed by like this bit by bit, and it was March in a blink of an eye. Today is an important day for the 15-year-old children from the nearby villages to come to the Magic Book Tower to receive the magic book. Hao Fan and others have been waiting here early. After several months of urgent training, Hao Fan gained a lot. The strength of the body and the chakra are enough to open the first door of the 8 gates. Duanjia, open the door. Besides, what made him most gratified was that he had jumped a bit and reached near Yuno's eyebrows, and finally got rid of the short winter melon. It seems that I didn't grow taller before, and sure enough, I still can't keep up with nutrition. These days, he is eating grilled fish, wild boar, and quite nutritious snake soup. Not only has he grown in size, but his body has also become stronger than before. At this time, he is full of masculine charm. This caused many girls of the same age to look sideways at him frequently. His white hair is so handsome. Don't you think his eyes are serious? A few girls were whispering, which undoubtedly made the other men beside them jealous, and 2 of the men who were clearly dressed more gorgeously than their peers looked down. These superficial girls are even obsessed with a poor abandoned child. A look of disdain appeared on Will's square face. It seems that they are just girls from the village. They must be very proud to be married to a hero who slaughters pigs. Lake echoed with a sneer. Both of them are rare nobles in this border area. Although the entrusted territory is a little far away from the capital, they have always ignored these poor people. Sometimes, he is also self-absorbed, not afraid of these words being heard by Hao Fan and others. I heard that our pig-slaying hero is a person who doesn't even know magic. If we marry such a man, maybe we can charge a little entrance fee for the exhibition in the future. Ha ha ha. Will and Lake taunted to the utmost, and then their smiles gradually froze, because Hao Fan glanced at them coldly, without saying anything to refute or make any fierce expressions, but it was this look that made them feel a feeling of being stared at by a demon traveling the abyss. Shudder. Will and Lake trembled at the same time. They looked at each other, and through each other's pupils, they could even see their own face distorted by fear. Clown. Hao Fan spat softly, and his eyes were so frightened. That's enough. But these 2 are also considered to be acquainted. If he dares to push him again, he doesn't mind fighting it. However, I don't know if I can get the magic book today. Hao Fan looked around. There are so many magic books stored in this magic book tower. why should one fly to him by then? Hao Fan is still very curious about magic, and he has learned a little about the world in the past few months. The power of powerful magic is no less than that of esoteric ninjutsu. Therefore, even if the knee-sized magic book flew towards him, Hao Fan would not dislike him. As long as he can practice magic, he promises to work harder than anyone else. Welcome all recipients, and may you who are about to embark on a new journey be full of honesty, hope and love like a clover. An old man wearing a red-brown magic robe descended from the sky on a magic carpet. His old voice spread throughout the entire magic book tower through the amplification magic in front of him. At this time, whether it was the children who came to the awarding ceremony, the accompanying parents, or the idle visitors, they all became nervous, because this old man was the tower owner of the magic book tower, and with his arrival, the magic book granting ceremony is about to start. I'm really looking forward to it. I don't know what kind of magic book I will get. A young girl preached with her palms folded, her eyes full of longing for the future. If my son can get a thick magic book, I promise to have a feast at home for 3 days, and then anyone can come and eat. The parent of a teenager preached excitedly. In his opinion, the thicker the magic book, the more magic that can be created. Doesn't this mean the stronger the power? To be honest, let's not talk about the magic emperor here. There are not even people who have entered the magic nights and achieved some results. So seriously, please make sure to fight for the book tower. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 6. When the tower master spoke here, he blew his beard and stared, splashing out saliva, which shocked many people. Then, start granting magic books now. After the tower master finished speaking, a series of radiant magic books leaped out from the bookshelf. They first hovered above everyone's heads, as if they were choosing a master, and then flew into the hands of boys and girls in an orderly manner. This is the third update. Seeing that the number of flowers is almost 2,000, there will be more updates when it reaches 2,000. Chapter 13. My God, I actually have such a thick magic book. A teenager was so excited that he almost passed out. What's so great about being thick? Mine is twice as big as yours. Another teenager preached disdainfully. But some people are happy while others are sad. For example, the magic book that a skinny boy got is only the size of a palm. But Hao Fan closed his eyes. Who can tell him why everyone has it, but he doesn't? Forget it, the expected ending. Hao Fan curled his lips. Anyway, he was abandoned by the world's mainstream cultivation system not once or twice, and it's no big deal if he didn't get the magic book. Now he has accumulated 200 points, and when he gets enough points for 10,000 points, he will exchange them for a single-go Jade Sharingan for fun. When the Sharingan opens, he will still be the most beautiful boy in the world. It seems that the widow will go to the deep mountains and old forests this time to practice. Hao Fan sighed. Originally, he thought that if he got the magic book, he would go to the royal capital to experience the world's top combat power, but now there is no hope of getting the magic book, so the only thing he can do is to grow up as a jungler. Humph. I'm going to take the entrance exam for the Magic Knights half a year later. Will was smugly preaching, his eyes and brows were full of arrogance. We will definitely pass. Lake also preaches with great confidence. Life has widened the gap. From now on, clouds will return to clouds, and mud will return to mud. After all, outcasts are only worthy of lingering in churches. So what if we can kill pigs? As long as we join the Magic Knights, we will have a huge room for improvement. Even slaying a dragon is okay. Looking at Hao Fan, who was empty-handed, Will couldn't help but sneered. It's so pitiful, he doesn't even pay attention to a magic guide book. I heard that there are many bumpkins in many places. Even if they are mediocre, they want the latter to have the cheek to take the exam of the Magic Knights, just to give themselves a life of farming in the future. I want to leave a bit of glory behind, but he doesn't even have this chance. Lake also mocked happily, for this magical world, what difference is there between no magic and useless wood? Damn it, I don't allow you to insult Asta like that. Nashio gritted his teeth and stood up and said. Where did the poor ghost come from? Go away. Wills disliked preaching. At this moment, an extremely indifferent voice came from far and near. Want to know what the real difference between cloud and mud is? Hao Fan looked at the two men coldly, and then put his hands on the shoulders of the two men. What do you want to do? This is the magic book tower, you dare to kill. Both Will and Rick felt ashamed. This is a bad rhythm. Swish. As predicted. As if lifting two puppets, Hao Fan led Will and Lake towards the outside of the magic book tower. His speed was like a blue beast. When he was galloping, chakra quickly condensed on his legs. He is now its speed is 5 times that of ordinary people. Kill people law. Hao Fan's speed at the moment is so fast that the voices of Will and Lake are like echoes. However, when he passed by Yuno, the magic book in Yuno's hands suddenly burst into a dazzling golden light, and this golden light quickly attracted everyone's attention. Flowers bloom with 4 leaves. The tower owner's eyes were concentrated, and he suddenly discovered that there were 4 leaves behind the magic book that was slowly churning in the golden light. Clover Magic Book. There were exclamations in the book tower, because this is the 4-leaf Clover Magic Book that was also awarded to the first Magic Emperor. It is well known that the 3 leaves of the clover contain honesty, hope and love, respectively, and the 4th leaf hosts luck. In addition to the extra attribute of luck, this magic book itself also contains super magic power. This is simply the strongest magic book in legend. Yuno seems to have obtained some great magic book. It seems that we need to deal with these two quickly. After staring sideways, Hao Fan quickly rushed out of the magic book tower. After rushing out of the book tower, Hao Fan jumped up and led the two of them directly to a 7-meter-high eaves. Wow, I was really shocked. After the update in the morning, it hasn't risen yet. When I saw it in the evening, it rose to more than 3,000 in an instant. I can't let it down. Thank you for your support, friends. Chapter 14. Let the legend of Clover fall. Do you deserve it? Is it tall? Hao Fan patted Lake and Will on the shoulders like a big brother. At this time, the posture of the 3 was very delicate. They were all squatting on the edge of the eaves, and Hao Fan put his 2 hands on the necks of the 2. It seemed that with just a slight push, the 2 of them would fall down due to their unstable center of gravity. Hi. Will and Rex were trembling. The distance between the eaves was only 7 meters, but they were already frightened. The pride that came from the blood had long since disappeared. After Hao Fan saw it, he was bored, and he was really not interested in scaring the 2 cowards, but he still had to say something. The difference between cloud and mud, is it up to you to say it? Who is it? Give you the courage, come on. Laughing at other people's hard-working lives? I was wrong. Will started to cry. He just felt like he was about to fall, and his fingers were numb with fright. I was wrong too. Rick spoke tremblingly. Don't you think you are very noble? Then come down by yourself. After Hao Fan finished speaking, he fell from the high wall and returned to the magic book tower after 2 ups and downs. Help! Will and Lake hugged each other and cried. Originally, mages could fly on broomsticks, but they obviously haven't reached this level, so they can only stay on the roof in despair and wait for rescue. In the magic book tower, Yuno's magic book has put away its brilliance, and it has fallen into Yuno's hands. And the surroundings are full of envy, jealousy, praise and even a hint of malicious eyes. Hao Fan followed that gaze, and saw a man with sloppy hair, triangular eyes, splayed eyebrows, and a scar on his right cheek that looked like he had been scalded by boiling water. It's really a familiar look. Hao Fan laughed at himself. It's been a long time since he came to this world and he hasn't met a villain, but this villain looks so like Orochimaru. The awarding ceremony of the Magic Guide book has come to a successful conclusion here. The Godfather happily took Lily and the others to buy things for the celebration. Buy some groceries. And Yuno walked back alone, and the criminal who looked like Orochimaru followed behind him like a shadow. Hao Fan raised the corners of his lips, and followed like a fisherman waiting for a snipe and clam to fight. Who are you? Yuno went to a secluded aisle and turned around to preach. It was discovered by you, but I want to know who I am. When I was in the Magic Knights, Chain Magic Rebki was very famous. Rebchi preached with a smirk. Rebchi? Didn't you let me find out? Yuno said indifferently, the black-haired man in a wine-red robe in front of him gave him a very uncomfortable feeling, especially when he walked into this secluded alley. The man suddenly burst out. There was a strong hostility that was hard to ignore. There is no way. If you let you go forward, you will be in trouble when you meet people. When Rebke was speaking, countless chains suddenly rushed out of the red bricks on both sides of the alley. The appearance of these chains caught people off guard, and Yuno was before he even had time to react. I don't seem to have anything of value on me. Yuno calmly preached while secretly struggling, but he found that he couldn't mobilize his magic power after being bound by iron chains. Resisting is useless. My creative magic binding iron chain formation, can seal the magic power and actions of the arrested, and the four-leaf clover magic book in your hand is worth a lot of money, so that legendary magic book belongs to me. Lei Byuki looked at Yuno like a cat playing with a mouse. His expression was full of pleasure of bullying the weak. Don't you know that only those selected by the book can use the magic book? Yuno frowned, trying to persuade Rebchi to give up this move. So you are still too young, you don't know how much the four-leaf clover magic book can be sold among collectors on the black market. And as the man chosen by the four-leaf clover magic book, you should be like a dragon soaring in the world. But who made you meet me when you were young? What a pity, your legend will end before it begins. At the end of Lei Byuki's speech, he couldn't help laughing crazily. He was like this all his life. After being exiled, he could only be a thief scurrying around, but it was really amazing to see such a legend fall into his own hands. What a pleasure from the depths of the soul. It seems that in the future, I will often go back to this small town to see what kind of life this legend who was strangled by myself will face. I am afraid that I will regret that I met him while plowing the field. Are you worthy of the fall of a legend who was read by Clover's magic book? Hao Fan walked briskly into the alley as if strolling in a garden, which surprised both Yuno and Rebke. Chapter 15 Flowers bloom and 5 leaves. Looking at the formation, I thought there was some kind of extraordinary character here. It turned out to be a useless person who didn't even have a magic book. You are really pathetic. You were born in this magical country and you don't even have a little bit of magic. No, you are really a treasure that is hard to find in the world. After being stunned for a second, Rebke began to laugh, as if seeing a joke coming in. You, a descendant of Orochimaru, seem to talk a lot. Hao Fan picked out his ears. His face was a little gloomy. As expected, guys who looked like Orochimaru were very annoying. Ashimaru? Although I don't know who you're talking about, it's really annoying to hear the word descendants. The magic book floating in front of Lei Byuki quickly burst into light, and he saw 7 or 8 chains like black pythons locking towards Hao Fan from all directions. Asta, run! Yuno shouted instantly, because in his cognition, their current abilities can't compete with this mage who was exiled from the Magic Knights, so the best way now is for Asta to escape and find someone come. The good thing is that this place is very close to the magic book tower. I believe the tower owner will not sit idly by. But after Yunoa finished yelling, a weird scene happened. Hao Fan seemed to have eyes all over his body, and he easily snatched the chains coming out of no matter where they came from. I'll just stand here quietly and let you tie me up. Let's see how long you can be tied up. Hao Fan stood there lazily preaching. As a man who had been trained by Emperor Kai, his agility might already be invincible in this world that has abandoned martial arts. You really managed to me off, brat. Creating magic binding iron chain formation. Lei Byuki pointed at Hao Fan. This time he went all out and did not take it lightly at all. He saw more than a dozen black chains roaring towards Hao Fan, but Hao Fan seemed to want to verify it was the same as what I said just now. No matter how many people watched the thrilling and exciting scenes, Hao Fan only broke free from these chains with a slight swing on the spot. How is it possible? You can't even hide from the peerless genius who is valued by the four-leaf clover magic book. How can you, a waste who can't even cast magic, dodge it? Rebke became emotional, and as his emotions fluctuated, more and more chains were formed in all directions, finally forming a terrifying magical aura. At this moment, the voice of the system rang in Hao Fan's ear. Ding dong! Detect the mysterious power in the host body. Is it loaded? Sure. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 7. Hao Fan raised his eyebrows. He didn't expect that there was a second power in this body. Loading, 1%, 2%, 3%, 28%, 57%. A translucent progress bar appeared in front of Hao Fan's eyes, and the loading speed of the progress bar was still very fast. At this time, Rebke had already taken the opportunity to lock him, but Hao Fan didn't care at all, because this soft and weak he is really afraid that the chains will be broken if he moves his muscles and bones a little bit. I just said, how can a good-for-nothing escape my attack? At first, I didn't believe that there is really a guy with no magic power in the world, but through the induction of the chain, you really have no magic power at all, hey hey hey. Ribuchi couldn't help laughing when he was speaking, his snake-like eyes were full of excitement. Your friend is still the chosen one, but you have been the one from the very beginning. It's really pitiful to be a born dog who lost his family, doesn't it feel good to be abandoned by the whole world? So, if you don't want to go back to the furnace and rebuild it so early, just accept your fate obediently, otherwise, I will kill you. Lei Buki smiled strangely. To him, today is really a happy day. He actually found two existences that were even more unlucky than him, 99%. 100%. Loading successful. As the system's voice fell, Hao Fan raised his eyes. These eyes were originally very beautiful, with amber irises around the black pupils, but at this time, the eyes turned blood red from the inside out. Immediately afterwards, a black curtain fell and swallowed up all the radiance on the scene, and before everyone could react, pieces of red radiance like dandelions rose up from the ground. The brilliance drifted with the wind, and a magic book covered by red light landed in front of everyone. When the blood-like pure red light faded, the back of the magic book was revealed. Flowers bloom with 5 leaves. I saw those 5 extremely dazzling leaves deeply hurt Rebke's eyes. 5-leaf clover, is it actually 5-leaf clover? Lei Buki backed away in horror. It was understandable that the 4-leaf clover appeared, but the 5-leaf clover was simply unheard of. There are 5-leaf clover in this world? Rebke looked at the book in disbelief, but the more he read it, the more frightened he became, because the blood-like thick light made people tremble like the blood of a devil. It's a new month, and the author is trembling before the deserted results. This seems to be the worst book, the author is a little flustered, and I don't know what to do. Let's do it, it's February 2nd, and the deadline at 10 o'clock tonight, a monthly ticket will be added with 1 change. If it exceeds 10 changes, it will be postponed. Now 2 changes are guaranteed every day. Chapter 16 The Devil's Body. Abandoned by the world. It seems that you understand the feelings of people like me. In your eyes, no matter how hard we try, we are as funny as a bunch of lost dogs, right? But if you understand this way, then, you know, when this kind of person rises, what powerful power will be hidden in his body. The red light in Hao Fan's eyes faded with the appearance of the 5-leaf clover magic book, and when he finished speaking, the magic book automatically turned without wind, and the page quickly turned to an interface with words, and then the giant sword stained with red light fell from the sky. Rub. The sound of the giant sword falling to the ground was crisp and shocking. At the same time, when Hao Fan's back was reflected on the wall, he even showed the figure of a demon. When the dandelion-like red rays of light are floating aimlessly on the shadow, inadvertently looking at the clusters of red lights is as captivating as the eyes of a devil. This terrifying and treacherous scene is unforgettable. Rebke's grimoire even dropped to the ground out of fear. Now. Just feel the despair of weakness. From the moment Hao Fan held the sword in both hands, the muscles all over his body exploded instantly, and the chakra was also accumulated from the muscles of the arms to the muscles of the calves, and the chain magic that bound his body before seemed to be made of clay. Cracked by an inch. Bang 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 bang. With the sound of the chains breaking apart, streams of miserable green light also emerged from Hao Fan's body, entangled with the blood light on the épée. At this moment, he seemed like a demon. Boom! Hao Fan's 2 calves suddenly exerted force, and his whole body rushed out like a cannonball. No! Lei Buki opened his eyes wide in horror. He wanted to avoid it, but his vision could only catch a trace of Hao Fan's afterimage at this moment. Although the épée had no front at this time, the weight of the sword itself and Hao Fan's full blow were enough to make the sword unstoppable. Boom! Lei Byuki was slashed against the wall by the ape. At this time, his internal organs were all shattered, and he lost his breath in an instant. What a domineering, terrifying sword is this? Yunoa stood on the spot blankly, really unimaginable that Asta, who he always thought had no progress, surpassed him so much quietly. You know, he has always carried the title of genius, especially when he got the approval of the Clover magic book today. He is even more unstoppable, but he has no ability to resist in front of an exiled member of the Magic Knights. And this member had no ability to resist in front of Asta. Hey, this is your magic book, right? Cherish it carefully. If you lose such a precious thing next time, I won't care about you. Hao Fan picked up Yuno's magic book, threw it to Yuno, and then turned and left. As for what happened in the alley, Lake and Will, who happened to be trapped on the eaves, saw clearly. At this time, the two of them trembled even more, their eyes filled with despair for the future. This ups and downs of the fight let them fully see the gap between themselves and Hao Fan, if they were still a little bit unconvinced just now, so now they only hope that they will never meet this terrifying boy again. Whether it is the magical book with 5 leaves in bloom, the power to break the chain with just one movement, or the speed like a beast, no matter what ability it is too easy to kill them, and now they are even grateful I recognized it in time just now, otherwise I am afraid that I will be smashed into a flesh by that terrifying sword at this moment. Yuno took his magic book and looked at the back of Hao Fan, who was leaving in a cool way. How much ridicule and despair did that familiar yet unfamiliar back bear when they agreed to become the Magic Emperor? This is what he doesn't know. What he knows is that no matter how much misery this young man bears, he will always be like a mountain that cannot be knocked down, and will always be full of fighting spirit. I have worked so hard for so many years. I thought I would no longer be a crybaby, and Asta's height and magic power have not increased at all these years. I thought I also had the ability to take care of him. But I didn't expect. After so many years, I still need Asta to protect me like that boy in the snowy night. Yuno lowered his eyes, a bit of bitterness appeared in the corner of his mouth, but he soon cheered up. Because as Asta's opponent, he may not be able to show any weakness. He also has to overcome obstacles like Asta, and finally achieve his ambition. Chapter 17, The Demon-Breaking Sword. Ding dong. You have awakened the magic book of 5-leaf clover and obtained the Sword of Breaking Demons. Sword of Demon Breaker. The tip of the sword can nullify magic, and the blade can reflect magic. So, with this sword, I don't have to fear any magic. On the way back to the church, Hao Fan heard system prompts constantly ringing in his ears, which made him excited. No matter in any world, strength is a hard indicator after all, otherwise no matter where he goes, he can only be rubbed by the strong at will. Ding dong. You killed the first-class low-level mage Lei Byuki, and you got 300 points reward because of the opponent's red name. Cool. Hao Fan couldn't help but let out a whistle. A wild boar is only 5 points. I didn't expect a wizard to be so valuable. As for the red name, it is the same as the principal in the game. Killing such a person will not be punished, and you can also get rich rewards from the system. It seems that Lei Byuki did not do less harmful things, otherwise he would not be famous. To be able to end up in his hands is also a kind of justice for the heavens. Hao Fan put away the giant sword in his hand, and rubbed the magic book that looked old and even dirty with his fingertips. By the way, what is this 5-leaf clover magic book? Usually people's magic books are only 3-leaf ones. The most common honesty, hope, and love are contained in the leaves, and luck resides in the 4th leaf, so it exists in the 5th leaf. What are its properties? Hao Fan asked the system in doubt. Generally, the system would answer such professional questions. In the 5th leaf, the devil lives. A demon? It really suits my appetite. After hearing the system's answer, Hao Fan's pupils shrank, and then he showed a cold smile. At present, Hao Fan already has 1,000 points in his account, which is 9,000 points away from Shan Goyu's Sharingan. But now that he has found a way to make money, Hao Fan is more interested in joining the Magic Knights, so that he can pass difficult tasks or use to hunt powerful mages, so as to quickly increase points. This is much better than hunting wild boars alone in the deep mountains and old forests. After returning to Haji village, a group of leather monkeys were still training in full swing, and Hao Fan immediately joined the ranks of training. "Brother Asta is back, have you obtained the magic book?" A child who participated in the training couldn't wait to ask. Hao Fan raised the magic book in his hand, and a group of children immediately cheered for Hao Fan from the bottom of their hearts. Thanks to Hao Fan's care these days, while teaching them physical skills, he did not criticize these children in terms of nutrition and healing potions. Therefore, their bodies are obviously stronger than a few months ago, and the child with the smallest strength can already walk like flying independently, carrying a big tree in the arms of two people. During this period, Hao Fan also tentatively taught everyone chakra, but completely there is no improvement. It seems that he is the only one who can practice in this world. "Brother Asta, what is your training volume today?" a child asked curiously. They could see Hao Fan increasing his training almost every day. In their eyes, Hao Fan was like a Superman, completing a training volume that they might not be able to achieve in their entire lives. Today's training volume is tentatively set at 10,000 one-finger exercises for each finger. After Hao Fan finished speaking, he simply stood upside down with one finger, and his body drew a powerful arc like a bowstring, which aroused a burst of exclamation in an instant. "Brother Asta is really a Superman. At present, I can only do 101 finger meditations, and I'm still a thumb, but Brother Asta can actually reach 10,000 one-finger meditations per finger." After watching Hao Fan's training for a while, the children also hurriedly started their own training. At this time, the godfather and others also bought them in the town. "This kid in a skirt can really ignite youth, it makes my old arms and legs itch." The preaching of the godfather lamented. "Asta is really much more sensible than before. Now he not only has the vitality before, but also possesses extraordinary leadership ability. It's just..." Lily spoke here, her eyes dimmed for a moment. Since they left early, they didn't know that Hao Fan had also awakened the magic guidebook, so they thought that Hao Fan could only be an ordinary person without magical power for the rest of his life. Life outside. It might be a good thing for Asta to cut off hope early. The godfather sighed and said, he was born like a duckweed, but he had high aspirations, and now he didn't even have the last chance. Even adults rarely can bear this kind of blow, but now it is cruelly placed in front of a 15-year-old boy. Sometimes, the cruelest thing in the world is not the criminal law, but the moment when dreams are broken. The author's code words are difficult, and he only wrote 3 chapters in one night. However, there have been 10 monthly tickets so far. Although 4 of them were cast before this decision, they still count. And this is the first chapter of today's update. In other words, 9 chapters are still owed. With this level of motivation, the author will work hard and try his best to update, and there will be a day when it will be finished. Chapter 18. Maybe Asta will never be able to cast magic in his life, but I believe he will not be mediocre. Godfather, I also went to exercise. Since following Hao Fan's training, Na Xiu has become more and more convinced that Hao Fan's life will never be as hopeless as everyone sees. Even if he doesn't know magic, Hao Fan is stronger than most people. There are many, such a strong man will never be buried by fate. It's nice to be young. The godfather hammered his old arms and legs, and he really started to feel sore before taking 2 steps, but the hot pepper-like potion Asta gave him in the bath a few days ago really worked. His body is now obviously better than before. Much better. In the evening, when everyone is eating. What? Asta also awakened the magic book. The godfather and others looked at Na Xiu, who revealed the news in surprise. It was amazing that Asta had also awakened the magic book. What's amazing about this? I think it should be. Na Xiu curled his lips in a low voice. He has successfully promoted to become Hao Fan's little fan, and he admires Kai Huang's youth theory. If the world is not different, he is definitely a good student of Kai Huang. Yuno stopped eating pork chops and raised his eyes slightly. He agreed with Na Xiu's words. As the man who inspired his fighting spirit, how could Asta not be selected by the magic book? Asta, you really have come to the end of all your hardships. God finally gave you what a normal person should have for the sake of my day and night prayers. The godfather snatched Hao Fan's pig's trotters with tears streaming down his face, and while lamenting the miracle, he ate like a big pig's trotter. Hao Fan rolled his eyes, and served himself a bowl of snake soup, which he made from 3 kinds of snake meat and 2 kinds of herbs in the forest. Women eat to maintain their beauty, and with the increasing abundance of church recipes, the children in the church have also grown well. Since Hao Fan participated in the awarding ceremony of the magic book in March, he has been concentrating on cultivating in the village. By the time the Magic Knight's examination is about to start half a year later, his body has reached the level of opening the shut gate. This is the second gate of the 8-door Duanjia formation, which belongs to a transitional stage. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 8. Opening the first door. Opening the door allows Hao Fan to cast Biao Lianhua, but since his body has just reached the condition to open the 8-door Duanjia formation, after opening, his body will pause momentarily due to the pain caused by opening the door, which causes it created a situation where if you can't beat your opponent in seconds after opening it, you will be in trouble. But when the body has reached the quality of opening the Shuman, opening the 8 gates Duanjia and casting Bio Lianhua again seems to be more than enough, so you don't have to worry about the consequences of not being successful in one blow, but putting yourself in instead. On this day, the tower owner of the Tower of Sorcering Books approached the Godfather to discuss, saying that he wanted to send Hao Fan and Yuno to take the exam for the Magic Knights in the capital. At first, the Godfather refused, because the 2 children left at once. He feels distressed. The royal capital is far away from Haji village, so the road is hard. Needless to say, even if you arrive in the royal capital, you may not be able to pass the exam. Therefore, he made a slight protest. Forget what Yuno said, but even if Asta goes, I'm afraid he won't be able to pass it. How about? Are you underestimating the child's ability? Remember the 2 nobles I sponsored before, one named Lake and the other named Will. They both knelt down and begged me not to participate in the awarding of the magic book that day. The exam for the Magic Knights is over, and the reason why they lost confidence like this is because they were defeated by Asta. The Tower Master gave a meaningful sermon. But the Godfather still wanted to do some dying struggles, but the Tower Master was also an old man, and he didn't give the Godfather any chance to breathe. Are you reluctant to part with Asta? The Tower Master teased. How is it possible? That brat, although he has learned to behave himself recently, he was like a mud monkey before. The Godfather babbled about what happened to Asta before. Then, are you still reluctant to part with Asta? The Master of the Pagoda affirmed the sermon, which is the true biography of you who was beaten by a monkey. I said no, how could I possibly do it? Okay, let them have a care on the road together. The Godfather waved his hand. He could only compromise for the sake of saving face. After the names were decided, Hao Fan and Yunhua decided to leave in 3 days. During this time, Hao Fan explained many things. For example, a warehouse was specially built next to the church, and 500 points were exchanged for 500 bottles of healing potions. I believe these are enough for Nashio and others to use for a year. Moreover, they also found time to build a single room for the church, so that each child has an independent single room. Before leaving, he and Nashio and others rebuilt the fence around Haji village. Seeing these kinds of actions, the Godfather couldn't help complaining, Asta, why do I feel that you are very confident in the exam of the Magic Knights? These days, you either explain this or that, don't tell me. Are you the illegitimate son of the Magic Emperor? The Godfather finally thought of a possibility and gave a sermon that brightened his eyes. Yes, now there are 15 monthly tickets, and a total of 15 chapters will be added. This is the 2nd chapter of Gagan, and there are still 13 chapters left. In just a few days, the home must be completed. The next update estimates that it will be 9 o'clock, and then we will arrive at the capital to start the exam. Chapter 19 Blonde Cur. Puff. Lily, Nashio, Yunhua, and the others couldn't help but spit out their mouths. What a fantastic idea. What good things are you thinking about? You just want to be related to the Magic Emperor. Hao Fan rolled his eyes. He is tall now, already half a head taller than Yunhua. This is the charm of physical arts. After half a year of hard training, he has completely grown into a handsome boy with a broad figure. What are you talking about? Am I the kind of flatterer? The Godfather was a little annoyed, but when he thought that Hao Fan and the two were about to leave, he felt uncomfortable again. The church without Hao Fan would be lifeless. Early the next morning, Hao Fan and Yuno officially set off. Rushing the road is also a kind of practice. Hao Fan stood on his hands and began to walk with his hands. His behavior caused many passers-by to look sideways, but most of them just glanced casually. Most of their eyes were still on Yuno, because Yuno was also walking on the road, practicing magic. The momentum created is quite huge. The actions of the two attracted the attention of a team that was also heading towards the royal capital. Among the group, a man with blonde hair and silver clothes was the most eye-catching, and he also faintly occupied a dominant position in the team. The two of you must also be going to the capital to take the exam for the Magic Knights. The journey is tough. Not only must you beware of floods and beasts, but you must also beware of some people who rob houses. And I happen to know a shortcut to the capital. Why don't we go together? Bar. The blonde man walked up to Yuno and preached. He had extraordinary eyesight and noticed the 4 leaves engraved on the back of Yuno's magic book early on. Yuno glanced at Hao Fan and remained silent. It didn't matter to him whether he followed the team or walked by 2 people. Hao Fan wasn't even interested in talking to the blonde man, but the flash of greed in the blonde man's eyes aroused Hao Fan's interest. Judging from his demeanor, the blonde man looks like a nobleman, but because Hao Fan is standing on his head, he noticed that the blonde man's hands are full of calluses, and although his clothes are gorgeous, the trouser legs are too long. Obviously the clothes did not belong to him, and those eyes stayed on Yuno's magic book from time to time. It seemed that he was probably a robber. Okay. Hao Fan straightened up and spoke. He was taller and more majestic than the blonde man, which made the blonde man who had boasted of being brilliant become ashamed. Then, let's join the team together. The people behind are also the ones who will take the exam for the Magic Knights. The blonde man preached with a half-smile, faintly feeling that Hao Fan was difficult to deal with. This team is huge, probably about 20 people, including 3 fair-looking girls, and from time to time there will be boys who want to be courteous to these 3 girls, but the eyes of these 3 girls are always lingering. Hao Fan, Yuno, and the blonde man. The 2 people who joined later are so handsome. Yeah, especially the boy with silver hair, his eyes are so beautiful. However, judging by their clothes, they should be poor people, and Kerr, who organized us together, is a nobleman. The 3 girls whispered to each other. Although Kerr's demeanor was extraordinary, it was obviously inferior to Hao Fan and Yuno's, and relying on their female intuition, they always felt that Kerr's eyes were a little uncomfortable. Because he was born in a noble family, he might have been excluded by them long ago. Brother Kerr, isn't this the way into the mountain? It doesn't seem to be in the direction of the royal capital. After everyone walked for a while, a gray-haired boy couldn't help asking. Everyone, maybe you don't know, it rained heavily a few days ago, and the mountain here is prone to mudslides, so for the sake of safety, I took everyone here. If you feel like taking a detour, you can go to the front first. Waiting. Kerr smiled slightly, and took out the speech he had prepared. I still listen to Brother Kerr. When the gray-haired boy heard that Kerr asked him to leave the team, he was immediately persuaded. The capital is so far away, if he were to go alone, he would definitely not be able to make it. Brother Kerr is awesome, you can think of everything. Yeah. We all listened to what Brother Kerr said, and safety comes first. A group of teenagers flattered their beards, and even the pretty girl with her beautiful eyes felt a little admirable. Hao Fan raised the corners of his lips. Is the fox's tail finally coming out? He rubbed the dirt on his hands and felt that his big knife was already hungry and thirsty. At the beginning, a first-class low-level mage gave him 300 points, but now I just don't know how many mages there are in this group of bandits. Seeing Kerr's attitude of not refusing to come, he must not be disappointed by the size of this group of bandits. Hao Fan showed a devilish smile on his face, hunting for points. This is his purpose of keeping up with Kerr. Well, this chapter has arrived ahead of schedule, no surprises. This is the 3rd update of Gagan. The flowers are almost 4,000, brothers, work harder tonight, and try to break through 4,000 flowers. There should be another update tonight. Depending on the situation, there will be more and more. Chapter 20 Raptor Bandit Group. When everyone deviated from the road and walked up the mountain road, Hao Fan had already checked the surrounding situation. 2 on the big tree in the front left, 2 behind the boulder, 5 squatting in the grass on the right, and 10 trailing behind. The number of people is a bit small. I hope that when we reach the serious place, 100 or 200 people will emerge. Bar. Hao Fan was a little disappointed. Not to mention the lack of people, this clumsy hidden technology is enough to prove that these people's magic power is not high, but no matter how small a fly is, it is still meat, so we should give those people the points that are exchanged for healing potions. Earn it back. Brother Kerr, why do I feel like someone is following us? A teenager timidly walked up to Kerr to preach. Yeah, Brother Kerr, are there bandits around here? A few more sensitive teenagers could not help but gather around Kerr, and a heavy atmosphere formed in the team for a moment, and the faces of the 3 girls became even more tense. Finally someone noticed it, and it's not hopeless. Hao Fan glanced at Yunhua and didn't speak, but Yunhua seemed to know what Hao Fan meant, and immediately pretended to be indifferent. Although everyone was on guard at this time, it was already too late. If Hao Fan hadn't followed, these boys and girls are all going to die today. It's just some wind and grass, don't be nervous. Kerr spoke casually. But, I feel like someone is there. A teenager said nervously. I remember your name is Chuck, right? Do you know why I want to unite everyone? It is because the mountain road is not flat that we have to go together. Now there are so many of us, and we all want to join the Magic Knights, the proud son of heaven. I believe that even if you encounter a few bandits who don't have long eyes, you will be able to deal with it easily, so you shouldn't be afraid. Could it be that you want to embarrass yourself by acting like a coward in front of the 3 beautiful ladies? Kerr preached like a spring breeze, and I have to say that he still has a good way of coaxing people, and under this flattery, everyone's fear was immediately dispelled. Even Chuck, you are too shameful. There are so many of us, how could any bandits dare to rob us? Now I kind of want to meet a robber. The teenagers began to work hard to draw boundaries with Czech, as if this could show their bravery, and some even wished to meet a few robbers now to show their strength. Pfft. The 3 girls also laughed lightly, and the previous terrifying atmosphere suddenly disappeared. Kerr walked to the front of the line, a grim expression slowly formed on his face. In his opinion, these ignorant boys and girls are as weak as lambs, and they are simply slaughtered at will. Hao Fan glanced at the fat boy who said he wanted to meet a robber, and thought that he would not save this boy even if he cried for his father and mother, so let him show his bravery in front of beautiful women. Kerr led the crowd to walk for a while, and this time they finally came to the hinterland of the mountain. The robbers who had been so carelessly hiding their bodies before, didn't even want to pretend, and came out of the dark one after another. Some of these people are missing an arm, some are missing an eye, and some are full of horrible scars. They are all in the prime of life, and they have a very strong smell of blood since they appeared. This is a murder to a certain extent. The breath that will be contaminated, judging from the aura of these people, they are all thieves licking blood. Someone. Chuck's frightened voice became sharper. There are really robbers. Brother Kerr, what do we do now? The faces of the boys in a skirt changed. Some boys even collapsed to the ground with weak soles of their feet just by seeing the ferocious appearance of these robbers. And the obese boy who had been clamoring to fight the robber for 300 rounds now even twitched the fat on his face. Brother Kerr, quickly lead us to resist. Seeing that everyone was almost terrified, a young man said anxiously, if this continues, they might be defeated without the robbers. Resist? Are you joking? Kerr suddenly laughed eccentrically, as if he had heard a big joke, and turned his head to look at everyone sarcastically. At this time, his face was a little distorted, and the nobleness he had pretended before instantly turned into hostility. This change of face made everyone was shocked. Those 3 girls who had some interest in Kerr before were even more frightened and trembling, feeling that this world is really terrible. A person who was polite before can turn into a thug in a blink of an eye. Are you with them? Chuck collapsed on the floor and preached, but he realized it too late. Ha ha ha, it's time for a surprise, everyone is welcome to come to the temporary camp of our mighty Raptor Bandit group. You 27 teenagers who are about to take part in the assessment of the Magic Knights, do a sacrifice. Kerr was standing on a rock, and at this time he had completely torn his face with everyone, and when he was talking, members of the Raptor Bandit would come out from the depths of the jungle from time to time, and there were more than 100 of them in total. You actually want to sacrifice us? Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 9. Czech preached in horror, only feeling that the world is too scary. That's right, this is how we can earn the name of our bandit group. Of course, there are 3 beautiful girls among you. My honorable girls, don't worry. Although the sacrifice waiting for you will also bleed, I won't want you. Oh life. Kerr laughed grumpily after he finished speaking, and at the same time, the members of the bandit group who came out of the forest also laughed unscrupulously. Good job, Kerr, your little white face is finally not in vain. A tall man came out, his figure was very thick, his neck was even covered with children's heads. As soon as he appeared, it was like blowing the horn of doom. The teenagers who wanted to fight were desperate. Let's face it, there are a large number of enemies, and they are all adult robbers licking their blood. How can we fight like this? As the last chapter tonight, this chapter is more written than the previous ones, full of sincerity. This is the 4th chapter of Gagan. As of now, there are 20 monthly tickets. In other words, just adding monthly tickets is 20 updates. And the author also mentioned a condition for adding updates before, which counts until it is put on the shelves. So today the flowers are more than 2,000, add one more, the monthly ticket is 20 more, and add another. If the evaluation is more than 100, you can add more, and the reward is still 2 people away, you can add more. This total is the need to add 22 more. The devil is watching us. Fight with him. Wood creation magic, million wooden arrows. Fire creation magic, roaring fire dragon. Water magic, big water column. Wind element magic, rapid wind blade. The members of the Raptor Bandits on the right panicked at this moment. They saw Hao Fan beheading the members on the left in less than 5 seconds. You must know that there are several first-level magic guides there. A soldier, this is the mainstay of the regiment, but he doesn't even have the ability to resist. So these people couldn't care about any magic attribute restraint when they were still in shock, and threw their strongest magic at Hao Fan all at once, and saw that in an instant, the sky was full of magic, like fire magic like a fire dragon. There are also ice magic like ice dragons, wind blades, wooden arrows, water jets, all kinds of colorful magic sweep towards Hao Fan with the aura that seems to be able to destroy the world. For a moment, everyone felt that the world was going to be swallowed by this wave of magic attacks. Many teenagers who took the exam for the Magic Knights fell to the ground, afraid of being under the magic that seemed to be the power of the world. Even Yuno, who had always been calm, fell to the ground. I was a little startled at the moment. That kid must die. Kerr preached tremblingly, otherwise he wouldn't die under this kind of attack. I'm afraid he will die soon. This is the fat sheep you picked for me. This is a devil. Reddy slapped Kerr on the face. 2 of Kerr's front teeth shattered immediately, and half of his face was swollen from the beating, but he still felt puzzled, so he slapped Kerr hard again. This is just a one-pot meal. Hao Fan raised the demon's severing sword horizontally, taking this opportunity to test the effectiveness of the sword's rebounding magic. Give me back. Hao Fan held the sword in one hand, and his legs suddenly exerted strength. Chakra condensed crazily on the muscles of his legs. After taking 2 steps in the run-up, he stepped on the ground with his right foot and jumped up. Zzzzzz. In mid-air, Hao Fan used the demon-breaking sword to block dozens of magics gathered in one place, and the impact produced by the many magics was even greater than the waterfall flowing down from a height of hundreds of feet. Hao Fan wanted to the strength used to bounce these magic back is equivalent to using a sword to push the water back from under a Baijiang waterfall. One can imagine how much power this requires. 8 doors Duanjia Shumen. When Hao Fan was in a stalemate with the impact generated by many spells, he decisively opened the second door of the 8-door Duanjia formation, and the power of his whole body increased rapidly. At this moment, the sword in his hand seemed to be made of wood. The impact generated by the many spells is as indifferent as the air. Wherever it came from, I will return to where it is. Hao Fan let out an angry roar. At this moment, his silver hair was fluttering, and his green and red lights intertwined. He really looked like a demon god, and all the magic gathered in one place were shot back by him like a baseball in an instant. Boom! Bang bang bang! I saw countless wooden arrows, wind blades, and ice swords returning to their original places at an unstoppable speed. Those mages who released these magics didn't even have time to react, and they were all buried in their own magic. Ding dong! You killed the third-level low-level magician named Hong, and you will get 100 points reward. Ding dong! You killed the second-class low-level magician named Hong, and you got 200 points reward. Ding dong! You killed the red-named first-class low-level mage and got 300 points reward. Ding dong! This time you killed 53rd level low-level wizards and got 5,000 points reward, killed 22nd level low-level magicians and got 4,000 points reward, and killed 8 third-level low-level wizards mage, get 2,400 reward points, a total of 11,400 reward points. More than 11,000 points. It's so cool. Hao Fan listened to the system prompts excitedly, and felt his whole body was boiling with excitement. This horse is really easy to get points after finding the right method. Now it's just a bandit group easily destroyed, and the points have almost reached 20,000. Is this God? The boys and girls who were almost sacrificed looked at this scene and were all dazed. Hao Fan, who landed in mid-air, was obviously the same size as them, but in front of this vicious bandit group, they were so frightened that their hands and feet went limp, while Hao Fan but one person wiped out a bandit group. No, the leader of the bandit group has not been eliminated. Earth Creation Magic Giant Shield. Earth Creation Magic Giant Shield. After witnessing Hao Fan slaughtering his team members, Reddy was like a frightened quail, relentlessly consuming all his magic power to release his life-saving skills. The layers of earth walls were layered on top of each other, thick enough it was 7 or 8 meters away, but Reddy still didn't have any sense of security. He is completely scared. I'm afraid of this young man who looks like a demon god. Chapter 23: A Wave of Fat. Redeem them all. Captain, help. After Kerr witnessed the whole process, he was also not much better. At this time, his hands and feet were limp and he collapsed to the ground. He didn't even have the courage to cast magic. He looked very much like the boys and girls outside who just found themselves surrounded by bandits. I'll save your grandma's leg. Black Clover, Runaway Asta Chapter 10. Reddy stepped on Kerr's head, he gritted his teeth and exerted all his strength, and only heard a puff, and trampled Kerr to death alive. It's time to end. Hao Fan looked at the earth wall like a tortoise shell, picked up the sword of breaking the devil and jumped up. Under the action of the sword of breaking the devil, the solid earth wall was useless. Wherever the ape went, the earthen wall collapsed immediately, finally revealing Reddy's frightened fat face. No! Reddy let out a shrill scream, but the demon-severing sword in Hao Fan's hand didn't stop at all. Boom! The demon-severing sword hit Reddy fiercely, and the raptor bandit group was completely wiped out. Ding dong! You killed the red-named mid-level mage and got 500 points. Not bad. Hao Fan is very satisfied with this final sword, so he won a total of 18,500 points for killing the raptor bandit this time, plus his original 500 points, a total of 19,000 points. This is really a lot of fat. Is everything resolved? And it's still killing all of them. God, I'm really lucky to meet such a powerful companion. Thinking about it now, I really panic. If we hadn't met him, we would have been sacrificed by that bandit now, right? The boys and girls in a skirt wept with joy. For them, this was a real escape from the tiger's mouth. Asta, when did you become so strong? Yuno looked at Hao Fan in disbelief. It seemed to outsiders that Asta had been chasing his footsteps, but in fact only he knew that he had been following Asta's footsteps all the time. He envied Asta's strength, so he also became strong, but once upon a time, he thought that he was strong enough, and even thought that he had surpassed Asta for a while, but now he knew that he was still looking up at Asta all the time. Thank you so much, you saved us. My name is Lisa, and I live in Lonlin Village. If you pass by here in the future, I will try my best to entertain you. As the most beautiful Lisa among the three girls, she walked towards Hao Fan gratefully and confidently. Oh, are you planning to go home? Hao Fan asked calmly. He could sense that Lisa was flattering her intentionally or unintentionally. The girl in front of her was indeed beautiful, but she was a little too worldly. It's just that I encountered such danger not long after leaving Lonlin village, and the road to the capital is still long. I really can't imagine what kind of danger I will encounter in the future, so I plan to go home. Lisa didn't expect to join the Magic Knights when she went to the capital. She just wanted to add something to her life, so that she could become a very sought-after mate when she returned to the village with her beauty, but if she went to the capital if the road is too dangerous, she will never insist. Lisa. The eyes of the other two girls darkened when they heard Lisa's decision. As girls, even if they form a gang, it is really too difficult to travel thousands of miles to the capital, so they also decided to give up. As a result, many teenagers immediately expressed their decision to give up going to the capital. After seeing the horror of the raptor bandits and the power of Hao Fan, they felt that the world was not as simple as they thought. Being selected as a genius in a magic book tower didn't mean anything. The feeling of falling from the clouds to the earth. Sure enough, compared to the outside world, a quiet village is more suitable for me. I originally wanted to go to the capital to increase my knowledge, but the price of increasing my knowledge is too high, and I can't afford it. The boys and girls in a skirt quickly bid farewell one after another, while Hao Fan and Yuno had already left this place. Even the teenagers who originally wanted to follow Hao Fan saw this, but finally had no choice but to choose to go home, because they really didn't have the courage on the road. Open the mall. Hao Fan said as he walked. Pupil technique, single Goyu Sharingan, 10,000 points. D-level ninjutsu, shadow shuriken, 50 points, binding, 50 points, clone, 50 points, transformation, 50 points. Props, Bingliang pills, 10 pieces for 1 point, kunai, 10 pieces for 1 point, healing potion, 1 bottle for 1 point. All ninjutsu. All exchanged. The corner of Hao Fan's mouth curled up, and he preached domineeringly, with 19,000 points, that's how willful he is. Ding dong. Successfully exchanged for a single Goyu Sharingan, spending 10,000 points. Shan Goyu writes sharing eyes. Normal function, slow down the enemy's attack speed, and improve insight. Special effect, 30% chance to cast illusion, 30% chance to copy opponent's magic. It's finally exchanged for you. Hao Fan's pupils began to change, and the front of his field of vision was blood red, and then the beautiful amber iris, like red dye intruded into clear water, gradually turned into a bewitching dark red, and there was a black line around the black pupil. There is a bit of lacquer-like Goyu around the black line, and the single Goyu's writing sharing eyes are opened. Chapter 24. There are so many young ladies in Wangdu. At this time, Hao Fan looked at the surrounding scenes as clearly as if he had installed a magnifying glass. The texture of trees in the distance, the furry limbs of spiders, and every vibration of butterflies could be clearly seen, but after looking at them for a long time after that, there will be a burning sensation in the eyes. Close your eyes. Hao Fan hurriedly said. When he opened his eyes again, the dark red iris changed back to a beautiful amber color again. This is the power of the system. Even the innate pupil technique can be retracted freely. Ding dong. It costs 50 points to successfully exchange D-level ninjutsu Shadow Shuriken. Shadow Shuriken art. Normal function, inject your own power into the blade, hit the enemy's shadow, and block the enemy's movement for 0.5 seconds. You can only use it 3 times a day. Special effect, none. Schwa. Hao Fan shot at a branch at will, and the sharp kunai was firmly nailed to the branch and issued a duo sound. With a bang, a sparrow was startled, but one sparrow with the most abundant wings paused for a moment like an electric shock, and then flew out suddenly. Very powerful. Hao Fan's heart couldn't help beating faster. Kage Shuriken is an extremely difficult ninjutsu in the world of Hokage. You must know that in this cruel world where every second counts, even a pause of only 0.1 second is fatal. This is not to mention that people in this world despise physical skills, so they are slow in action. Now if they pause for 0.5 seconds, Hao Fan really has the capital to kill powerful enemies in seconds. Ding dong. It costs 50 points to successfully exchange for a D-level ninjutsu avatar. Normal function, can produce a clone to confuse the enemy. Special effect, none. It's tasteless. Hao Fan said that he would stare at one first, but the D-level clone technique, as the lowest level clone technique, seems to have no effect other than showing off, so he was relieved. Ding dong. It costs 50 points to successfully exchange D-level ninjutsu transformation. Normal effect, it can change anything you see, lasts for half an hour, and will dissipate under strong magic fluctuations. Special effect, none. Fair. Hao Fan arrogantly gave a 2-word evaluation, and then withdrew from Huiying Mall. This consumption is 10,200 points, the remaining 8,800 points. It seems that too many points are also an annoyance. Hao Fan raised his eyebrows. It feels really sweet to have too much money, but he has already exchanged the Huiying Mall, so the mall will start updating in due course, right? Ding dong. It is detected that the host has purchased all the products in the mall, and it takes 50,000 points to upgrade them all. Do you want to upgrade? Hao Fan moved his throat, expressing that he did not want to talk to the system, and spit thick phlegm at the system. Although the next journey is not smooth, it is obviously not so easy to meet such a big fish as the Raptor Bandit group, so until the two came to Hao Fan, the capital of the Four-Leaf Clover Kingdom, they just exchanged points when they piled up to 15,000, it was inferior to killing the Raptor Bandit. This is the capital of Clover, it really looks like a big cake. Hao Fan glanced around, and then walked into the royal city with Yuno. Just the bustling at the bottom made the two feel overwhelmed. After asking about the location and time of the Magic Knight's exam, the two went to the palace. I found a medium-sized hotel to live in. As for the money, I don't have to worry about it, because the money I snatched from the robbers along the way is enough for the two of them to squander in the capital for a while. 3 days later, the hustle and bustle of the capital suddenly fell silent, and then beautiful fireworks bloomed from the sky, followed by cheers from mountains and tsunamis erupting from outside a building that looked like a coliseum. The time has come. Hao Fan and Yuno came to the examination site, and the entrance was surrounded by crowds who came to cheer and cheer. Some of these were locals from the capital, and some parents came here to their children. All in all, they were very enthusiastic. Come on, boys. The future of Clover is in your hands. I really hope that you can come out of a famous person in this class, then I can go back and brag in the future, I have watched this legendary exam. From time to time, various voices erupted from the people's skirts. Hao Fan looked around, and it really deserved to be a royal capital, and there were really many beautiful girls in fashionable dresses. Move. Yuno preached in dissatisfaction. Cut, don't be emotional. Hao Fan rolled his eyes and walked into the examination site. Everyone first took a simple identity test, and the main thing was to take out the magic book and read it, and then they could enter the examination room. After passing the identity test, Hao Fan and Yunoa walked into a huge circular arch, and behind the arch was a very large open space. On the aisle above the open space were 9 thrones, which corresponded to the 9 magicians. The head of the knights. At this time, the heads of the 9 magic knights had not yet arrived, so many boys and girls who came to take the exam began to strike up conversations with each other, and soon divided into 2 completely different groups. An aristocratic group, and a group of ordinary civilians. Chapter 25 The Fancy Knight Commander. So cute, these little birds. When almost all the candidates came in, a skirt with blue wings, like a bird with an afro head landed, immediately attracted the attention of many innocent girls. These birds, really like me, and they all fly towards me. This reminds me of the white dove on the square that represents peace. Hao Fan opened his arms, with an expression of enjoyment on his face. Sure enough, even a creature like a bird can't resist this charm that has nowhere to rest. Presumably he must be attracting much attention now, right? After all, girls are obsessed with this kind of boy who can't even get close to animals. Pfft. That person is so funny. Surrounded by so many magic-avoiding birds, he doesn't feel ashamed at all. On the contrary, he looks like he's enjoying himself. It's no wonder. Judging from his clothes, he should be a country bumpkin who just came to the city. It's not surprising that he doesn't know the magic bird. However, the magic book towers in these small places are too much, and he would send a man with such magic power. It really humiliates this young master that a lowly person comes. Two aristocratic teenagers who were short in stature and 18 streets worse than Hao Fan in appearance, seized the opportunity and began to sneer. With the popularity of interested people, the name and function of this little bird were known to everyone. Hate. Don't come near me. Being chased by too many magic-avoiding birds may make the head of the magic knights look down on me. Almost everyone reflexively chased away the magic-avoiding birds around them, because whoever is entangled with the most magic-proof birds means who is the most incompetent. Even the girls who thought this kind of bird was cute at first began to avoid it. Stand up. The black line on Hao Fan's face made his already cold face even more cold now. If you dare to approach me again, I will kill you. Twitter. As if they could understand human words, the magic-avoiding birds immediately spread out under Hao Fan's terrifying aura, and quickly took Hao Fan as the origin, not to mention birds within a radius of 10 meters, not even a single person near. What a terrifying aura! Seeing that the momentum was not right, the two aristocratic teenagers who had planned to further mock Hao Fan hurriedly slipped into the skirts. After all, it is human instinct to seek advantages and avoid disadvantages. Even if you are an extraordinary nobleman, you can't avoid it. Look at that black-haired boy, and there are no magic-avoiding birds either. A man pointed at Yuno and preached. Couldn't he also scare away the magic bird? How is it possible? Don't you see so many people around him? It's really powerful magic power. Even those nobles have more or less one or two around them, but he doesn't even have one around him. It's really a powerful existence. I heard that he also has the same four-leaf clover magic book as the first magic emperor. Humph. Occasionally there will be a big one among the bedbugs, but the bloodlines are always difficult to change. The existence of Yunua undoubtedly attracted the attention of the audience, whether it was jealous eyes or disdainful eyes, all focused on him, but Hao Fan was nakedly ignored. TCH, a mortal with blind eyes.